The Shia family has a hidden rule that is never revealed to the outside world, and that is, the moment someone turns 12 years old, they are absolutely required to make a choice, either stay home and become a tool for an arranged marriage, or get out at 12 and forge your own path alone, and the family won't provide even a single cent. So in that 12th year of mine, I didn't even hesitate for a second before choosing the second option. After all, since I was a kid, I'd seen more than enough tragedies, people forced into arranged marriages in those novels, and I had no intention of being a pretty bird trapped in a cage. So the moment my 12th birthday arrived, I gathered all my cash and slipped away in the dead of night. I didn't want to suffer under the watchful eyes of my relatives, so I resolutely fled to a place where the Xi family's influence had never reached, far across the ocean. Even though the annual tuition was millions of yuan, enough to make one's heart ache, it wasn't my money I was spending, so why should I worry? When the old man back home saw I had run off, he immediately added a new rule to the family code. For those choosing independence, tuition is capped at 20,000 a year, with living expenses of only 10,000. Thinking of draining the family's assets? In your dreams. However, much to his regret, I had already made off with a massive sum of money long ago, and I even played the game of vanishing from the face of the earth. My family had absolutely no idea which corner of the world I was hiding in, and as for those new rules, they couldn't possibly control someone who had already flown far away like me. Even when I was eventually found, the old man didn't force me to pay it back. Since I was already all the way abroad anyway, could he really just stand by and watch? His beloved grandson starved to death in a foreign land. Who would have thought that? The obedient little child who was the family's treasure before turning 12 would have the guts to embark on the most difficult path of all. After all, the old man had already picked out a marriage partner for me, just waiting for me to grow up and become a big boss. Instead, I ran away faster than a rabbit, as if I were terrified of being dragged back into that fiery pit. Back then, the old man was so furious he skipped 3 meals in a row, immediately setting down incredibly strict rules, leaving my younger sisters, who were thinking of following my lead, with faces turning pale from sheer fear. Only then did the old man feel a sense of balance restored, wanting to band together and run away. Don't even dream about it. So every time there's a family video call, I can feel it right through the screen, the resentful and envious glares from my younger siblings. But unfortunately, being 10,000 miles away, this kind of mental attack deals absolutely zero damage to me. I just scoff and advise them to accept their fates as soon as possible. I originally planned to play around until I was 22, waiting until I graduated from university before returning home, but my siblings back home wouldn't let it slide anymore. They threw a fit, saying that I was spending millions each year without doing a single thing, so why shouldn't I be the one to return and enter an arranged marriage? They even screamed, threatening to go on strike like me in the future. To calm the angry mob, the old man set me a direct ultimatum. Either graduate and obediently go through with the marriage, or pay back every cent since the end of 12th grade, transfer back to a school in Jiangcheng immediately. After a night of intense mental conflict, I still decided to choose the path of returning home. Mainly because to play around freely abroad, I had poured money into an accelerated school, and in reality, I had already graduated 2 years ago. That massive sum of 6 million yuan had actually been spent almost down to the last penny long ago. If the family found out about this and forced me to pay back the full 6 million, then I'd truly be at a loss to the point of no return. The money's already gone. Thinking I'll cough it up now is nothing but a pipe dream. In this life, don't ever expect me to pay you back. Isn't it just coming home to repeat university one more time? If I have to study, then I'll study, no big deal. Might as well grab a free degree while I'm at it. It'll make job hunting easier in the future, right? Once I'd made up my mind, I immediately transferred all the expenses from those 5 years back into the family's shared account, keeping only enough for exactly 1 month's worth of food. After loafing around for 2 more days, holding on to the last 10,000 yuan I had left, I booked a plane ticket to head back home. The ticket price was so steep it made my heart ache. I pouted as I watched the cabin door slowly close, casually switched my phone to airplane mode, glanced at my bank card balance which had hit a solid 0, and resolutely snapped it into pieces before tossing it straight into the trash. From now on, farewell to my glorious past. I pulled up the blanket and settled into a deep sleep. I intentionally chose a midnight flight, just so I could sleep for over a dozen hours. By the time the plane landed, it would be exactly 6 a.m. back home. Calculating it this way, I wouldn't even need to bother with adjusting for the time zone. The moment I stepped off, I could start the fun right away. It's been 5 long years since I've been home. This time, I'm going to take advantage of summer break and really tear up Jiangcheng, so I can sleep until the world goes dark. On the plane, the night before, I had been grinding games all night and partying hard, so now the second I closed my eyes, I fell fast asleep in an instant. It wasn't until a gentle flight attendant woke me up that I comfortably stretched and sat up straight. After I was wide awake, I smugly smirked. I have to admit, my timing is absolutely top-notch. Dragging my small suitcase, I walked out of the security checkpoint. And the moment I looked up, I saw the massive sign, Beihai City International Airport. At that moment, I froze for a few seconds. Are Beihai City and Jiangcheng even in the same place? Obviously not. I frantically rummaged through every single pocket, but I couldn't find even a single loose coin. And those bank cards? I'd already snapped them with my own hands. Now and truly in a bind. How on earth am I supposed to get back to Jiangcheng? I stared down at my phone, my only lifeline at this moment, quickly switching off airplane mode. Luckily, my international roaming was still on. At least communicating with the outside world wouldn't be an issue. As soon as it booted up, I called my dear father. The phone rang incessantly for 2 whole minutes until an impatient roar came from the other side. Shesi, do you have any idea what time it is? It's not even 6:30 in the morning. If you don't have something important to say, just wait until the family meeting. You'll see how I handle you. I quickly let out a sob and used my most tragic tone to cry out, Dad, help. Something terrible has happened. On the other end, Xie Huayan suddenly stopped shouting. He bolted out of bed and scrambled to find his clothes, his voice instantly laced with deep concern. What on earth happened to you? I looked around like a thief on the job, then sneaked into a quiet corner and began my top-tier performance. Boo-hoo, Dad, my wallet was stolen. I don't have a single cent left on me. I'm standing right in front of Beihai Airport. Send someone to save me, please. Otherwise, I'm going to die out here on the streets. Xie Huayan ground his teeth in rage after hearing that. Shitzi, do you really think I'll fall for that? With that stubborn streak of yours from kindergarten, you actually let someone steal your wallet. You obviously spent every last cent. And now you can't afford to come home, right? Yet you still have the nerve to call me and play the victim. Xie Huayan threw his jacket aside, his voice cold as ice. If you can't spend responsibly, then learn the hard way. I absolutely will not help you this time. And don't you dare think anyone else in this house will give you a dime. If you're so tough, find your own way back here. Before I could unleash any more of my acting skills, the other end of the line went dead with a long dial tone. Truly my biological father. Hearing the busy signal, I wiped away a non-existent tear, turned around and immediately called my superstar mother. But unfortunately, my mother was buried in work, and only her little assistant answered the phone. I could abandon my shame in front of my own father, but in front of outsiders, I still have an image to maintain. So I really couldn't bring myself to ask for money. I just made some small talk and hurried to hang up. My father ignored me, my mother's out. Could it be that I really have to bother the old man in the end? I grit my teeth, stopped my foot hard, and shamelessly called the landline at the old house. My third cousin, Shi Chuan, picked up the phone. She's only exactly 2 months older than me. She's currently in her final year of high school, and chose the same grueling path of independence as I did. She was squatting in the living room, struggling to memorize English vocab. But the moment she heard I was in trouble, she laughed with pure delight, only leaving me with one sentence. Fend for yourself, dear brother. Then she resolutely pulled out the phone cord. I could only roll my eyes at the dark phone screen. Now calling back was hopeless anyway, because my phone balance was officially 0 and outgoing calls were blocked. Anyway, my father had made his declaration. And my siblings, who were already green with envy, because I've been partying abroad all this time, would definitely not be lifting a finger to help me. It seems I have only my own 2 hands to rely on now. But how am I going to make any money? In a big city like Beihai, opportunities are everywhere. And since it's summer break, the number of places hiring seasonal workers must be countless. I aim for small roadside eateries. They're the easiest places to get a job. No degrees needed, no fancy requirements. Just hard work and you'll at least have something to eat. As someone with no identity or qualifications, it was a struggle just to land a gig washing dishes. Who would have thought that after just 1 hour, I had already sent 7 plates to meet their ancestors? The owner was so furious he almost twisted my ear off and then threw me straight out the door. I clung to the table leg for dear life, putting on a pitiful act. Boss, please calm down. Uncle, calm down. Ah, these plates, they really had a mind of their own. I wailed, crying out to the heavens about the injustice. Boss, please don't kick me out. My entire family, young and old, depending on this money just for rice. I swear, I'll break fewer of them in the future. It's just that the dish soap is so greasy. I tried to hold them tight, but they just kept slipping away. The boss was so angry his face turned bright red. He grabbed me by the collar and roared, "Cut the crap, kid. If you don't get out right now, pay for those plates. 30 yuan each. You broke 7 of them. Pay me 180 yuan. I froze right then and there. Boss, did your math teacher pass away early? 3 times 7 is 210, uncle. After a moment, the boss was so livid he actually started laughing, suddenly letting go and glaring at me. Fine. So you're good at math, are you? Then pay me exactly 210. I immediately feigned a look of shy embarrassment, blushing hard and covering my mouth with my hand, gracefully taking small steps to back away toward the exit. Uncle Boss, I'll just see myself out as smoothly as possible. As for paying you back, it's absolutely, positively not happening. Because my pockets right now are even cleaner than my own face. I gloomily dragged my suitcase out of the restaurant, not forgetting to look back for a tearful farewell with the boss. Seeing my lonely, dejected figure wandering the streets, the boss even began to feel a pang of guilt, questioning himself. Had he been a little too harsh on the kid? Originally, I was only assigned to serve tea and water, but I was so clumsy I got demoted to washing dishes in the back. Turns out this young master failed at everything from washing veggies to slicing meat. Veggies were pulverized, and the meat was hacked to bits. Plus, his appetite was so terrifyingly massive, even the pigs in the pen would bow down in defeat. The owner suddenly realized this wasn't hiring staff. It was more like bringing home a massive debt. And so the boss's heart instantly hardened as he walked away. Defeated in my first battle, I had to endure the scorching sun. Not 5 minutes in, and I felt like I was about to melt right there. So I bolted as fast as I could into a nearby mall, just to catch some of that sweet, cool air conditioning. Once I'd stopped sweating, I hurried over to the reception desk to ask for a cup of water. The receptionist had been eyeing me curiously for a while. After all, seeing me now with heavy, smoky eye makeup, vibrant, edgy braided hair, and massive silver hoop earrings dangling from my ears, paired with an ethnic-style tank top and those unique crop pants, I looked every bit the energetic, rebellious teenager. As she handed me the water, she couldn't help but look closer, then curiously asked if I was a professional model. I casually waved it off, saying this was just my everyday battle armor. Her eyes lit up and she couldn't stop praising my top-tier physique, mentioning that there was a fashion week happening in this very building, suggesting I try my luck there to see if I could make some pocket money. She noticed me staring at job advertisements, which is why she was so helpful in pointing me in the right direction. The moment I heard that, my eyes widened in surprise, as if I'd just discovered a promised land. I quickly asked if they were still hiring seasonal help. The receptionist saw I was hooked and smiled easily, saying they might still be looking. Even if they aren't hiring anymore, just going in to see the world and learn about the latest fashion trends wouldn't hurt. I chugged the rest of the water in one go, then overcome with excitement, I grabbed her hand. Nuna, you are truly my lifesaver. Once I make some money, I'm definitely treating you to a massive meal. The girl was startled by my sudden burst of extreme enthusiasm, looking quite taken aback, only able to manage an awkward but polite smile. I grinned so wide my eyes nearly disappeared, released her hand and hoisted my heavy suitcase. Spinning around and racing toward the escalator at lightning speed, the receptionist watched my fading figure and could only shake her head, thinking that the young really are made of something else. To carrying a dozens of pounds suitcase with those skinny limbs. As if it were just a toy, climbing up one floor, I realized the stairs were designed in such a confusing way. So I resolutely jumped into the glass elevator to head straight to the 9th floor. With a ding signaling the elevator had reached its destination, I yanked my suitcase and rushed out, only to slam right into a giant advertising board. Talk about a twist of fate. It turns out this is Shen family territory, the mortal enemies of the Z family. The corner of my mouth twitched repeatedly. Instinctively, I just wanted to bolt right back into the elevator. But seeing my hideous reflection in the polished steel, with smoky eye makeup so heavy even my own mother wouldn't know me, that realization suddenly gave me a massive surge of courage. In an instant, I felt like I was reborn, earning money from my own family's enemies. That's basically doing a public service and bringing glory to the Shia ancestors. If the old man knew, he'd surely applaud me, praising my brilliant handling of the situation. Gathering my courage, I wove left and right, until I finally found the model's makeup room. Inside the room was a chaotic pile of belongings scattered across the floor. I tossed my suitcase into a hidden corner. After all, I was penniless right now. With nothing of value, I didn't have to worry about any thieves. I sat on the floor and pulled my precious makeup kit from the bottom of my suitcase. As a master of transformation, this gear of mine was truly professional grade. I scanned the room, noticing over 30 models but only 3 makeup artists serving them. At this rate, those artists were clearly about to collapse from exhaustion. I gave a smug little smirk to myself, grabbed my kit, and walked straight toward the manager. The person in charge was so stressed he looked like he wanted to headbutt a wall. He stared intently at my face, observing me for a long time. Not bad, your makeup looks quite impressive. It's true we're desperately short-handed right now. But first, I need to test your actual skills. Because modeling makeup isn't just about looking good. The most important thing is speed. This fashion runway is no different from a battlefield. Everyone has to count every single second to be ready for the stage. from changing clothes to getting back out there. You only have about 10 minutes or so. In that time, you have to remove makeup, redraw the face, and do the hair. It's an ultimate challenge for any professional makeup artist. Because of these strict demands and high pressure, plus the fact that big shows are currently fighting over talent, we had to work incredibly hard. Just to get these three top masters to carry the load, I confidently raised an eyebrow and gave a smile as if everything were already in the bag. So, Uncle, would you be willing to be my test subject? The man in charge was stunned for about 2 seconds before snapping out of it, resolutely waving his hand. Fine. I'll give you exactly 5 minutes to show me what you've got. I quickly pushed the man down into the chair, looking at his face, which already had a light layer of makeup, and began the removal process with fierce intensity. My eyes darted to the finished look of the model nearby. My hands moved so fast they were practically a blur. The man was so nervous he held his breath, afraid he'd choke on the powder I was flying around. It felt like only a blink, quick as a snap of the fingers. When I dusted my hands off and told him I was finished, the man couldn't wait a second longer, rushing to open his eyes to the mirror. His whole body went stiff with shock at the flawlessly clean makeup. Every line was so neat and sharp, there was nothing left to criticize. Looking exactly like the model's face without a single flaw. My whirlwind makeup speed was truly beyond any normal person's imagination. This kid really does have some skills, fully capable of taking on this seasonal makeup gig. Recognition shone clearly in the eyes of the manager, Jiang Wang, as he gave me an incredibly positive assessment, his voice full of praise and satisfaction. Jiang Wang quickly negotiated and finalized my pay, then directly assigned me to a group of models. I scanned each of their faces to commit them to memory instantly, and just like that, I officially started my very first job. Anyway, the sample makeup looks were all on their phones, so I just had to follow them exactly and everything would be fine. As soon as I finished one person, the hairstylist would immediately take over to do their hair. Everyone coordinated with flawless rhythm, and soon the entire team had finished all the preparations. Now there was nothing left but to wait for the show to start. Everyone gathered for a quick dress rehearsal, then dispersed to take a short break. Everyone was eagerly waiting for 7:30, when Fashion Week would officially open. The models, wanting to keep their figures perfect for the runway, accepted starving themselves before the show for a flat stomach. But I didn't follow those fancy rules. As soon as rehearsal ended, I pulled out my phone to surf the web while waiting. Exactly at 6:30 p.m., I nonchalantly grabbed a lunchbox and ducked into a corner, to start devouring it with absolute madness. At the growing age of 17, refueling is truly the most important thing to do. Seeing the eat looked so satisfying, my mouth didn't stop moving for a single second. I quickly connected to the building's Wi-Fi and started binge-watching, switching my phone's language to Chinese for ease of use, downloading the most popular local video apps, browsing back and forth to see if anything was interesting. Who would have thought that while casually scrolling, I'd accidentally find a movie starring my beautiful mother, a youth campus drama she filmed when she was young. My mother's peak beauty back then was truly beyond reproach, looking perfectly suited for a high schooler even at 17 or 18. Even though the plot seemed a bit cheesy and forced, thanks to my mother's stunning beauty on screen, I was still able to sit through the whole episode with ease. After finishing my lunchbox and another half episode, I felt satisfied and tucked my phone into my pocket, pulled out a tissue to wipe my greasy mouth, and took a little water to rinse my mouth until it was fresh. Then I carried the empty lunchbox outside to throw it away. Even though there was a trash can right in the makeup room, the smell of the food was just too strong and unpleasant. I didn't want the smell to bother or annoy anyone else, so I decisively opened the door to find a place to dump it. By now, the audience had started filing into the hall. 6 beautiful hostesses were standing on duty in the elevator lobby. Every now and then, people would step out of the elevator to this floor, heading straight into the fashion show area. It seemed elevator access was being strictly controlled at this time. Except for the VIP guests attending the show, almost no strangers were loitering around here. After I finished throwing out my trash, I leisurely hid behind a nearby corner to secretly observe the situation outside, to see what kind of big shots this grand show would attract. Around 7:10 p.m., Jiang Wang suddenly came running frantically to find me, urging me to get back to the makeup room immediately. With only 20 minutes left until the show officially began, I really did need to head backstage to finish up. I just gave a chuckle and happily went to greet him, obediently following Jiang Wang back to my makeup room. All along the way, Master Jiang Wang kept observing me with meaningful glances, making me feel incredibly confused and uncomfortable. Just as I was wondering what was going on in his head, what exactly he was planning or what his intentions for me were, Jiang Wang suddenly asked, "Have you ever walked the T runway?" I looked at him with a completely dazed expression. Jiang Wang's face now showed clear anxiety and restlessness, Just now, a model was careless while walking and ended up breaking a leg. I desperately need someone to step in and save the situation. The ceremony is about to start any second. I really don't have enough time to go out and look for another model. Your look seems quite suitable to me.
If you agree to go out there, I'll pay you exactly 20,000 yuan. The moment I heard money mentioned, my eyes instantly lit up. In an instant, my eyes sparkled as if it found a treasure. I nodded frantically. Yes, I've done it before, I can do it. This 20,000 yuan is definitely enough for me to live it up for a long time. Then show me a few steps right now so I can see. I nodded slightly, then slowly looked straight ahead. With a cold, expressionless face, I took confident strides. After I finished my practice round, only then could Jiang Wang breathe a small sigh of relief. All right, hurry inside for makeup and change into the costume. Since you still have to do makeup for others later, I'll arrange for you to be the first one on stage. Yes, sir.
I quickly stepped back into the makeup room. My current makeup could be reused perfectly. I just needed to add some sparkling sequins to my face to make it pop. The biggest trouble now was the braids on my head. Taking them out would be incredibly time-consuming. The hairstylist seemed a bit impatient about untangling that mess, so the stylist turned and brought over a different wig, carefully helping me put it on properly. My skin was naturally fair and smooth as porcelain, a pale white tinge with a vibrant rosy glow. With a golden blonde wig on my head, combined with my deep blue contact lenses, sharp eyebrows and eyes sparkling like stars, I looked incredibly handsome, elegant, and full of life, just like a prince from a fairy tale. Once the hairstylist quickly finished the hair, they froze in astonishment at the face reflected in the mirror. This young man's natural features were truly beyond perfect. The main focus of this fashion show was supposed to be the clothes, so the models absolutely couldn't outshine the attire. Therefore, the hairstylist decided to put a pair of sunglasses on me, which unexpectedly made me feel overjoyed. Because with the sunglasses as a shield, no one would recognize me even if I looked closely at the crowd below. I moved to my assigned position and began a pose in preparation, looking down from the high stage to take in the entire show. The fashion show hall was uniquely designed in a fan shape. The T-shaped runway was very long and majestic, running from the center and occupying 2/3 of the hall's area. Those sitting in the front VIP row were all representatives from renowned corporations and businesses, while small and medium-sized enterprises were seated in the back. In a large-scale fashion show like this, most guests aren't just there to admire the clothing, but actually use their invitations as a networking opportunity. Right now, those sitting in the back rows are all being incredibly cordial and eager to strike up conversations with those in the front. I scanned the room to observe the general situation, when my gaze suddenly froze on a young girl sitting very straight. She sat with her back straight, her gaze never wavering for even a second. The young girl looked to be only around 16 or 17. Her face still held a lingering touch of innocence and elegance. Her skin was as white as pure snow. With her ruby red lips and perfectly even white teeth, she was absolutely captivating. Sitting there, she radiated an aura of purity, grace, and dignity. It was as if she possessed a unique charm that completely set her apart from the crowd. Occasionally, she would slightly tilt her head to share a few words with the person beside her. Her voice sounded incredibly calm, without a hint of haste or agitation. It was warm and so pleasant to the ear. I felt it was so strange. Despite the blaring music and the loud, bustling crowd, somehow I could still hear her voice. It was fine to look directly at a beautiful girl, so I watched her for a while longer, secretly trying to guess who she might be. The group performance lasted for 5 minutes. Before I could even figure it out, I had to leave the catwalk. I returned backstage to change back into my own clothes, and even help pack up the makeup supplies. This fashion show was quite a hectic ordeal. I soon pushed the thought of that beautiful girl to the back of my mind. After cleaning up the stage area, Jiang Wang came to find me and handed over my wages. To achieve the best presentation for the outfits, most makeup artists and models belong to agencies and have their own studios. Everyone here was part of a temporary team assembled for the job, so the pay was distributed immediately after the work was done. My pay was quite generous, placed inside a delicate small black pouch. When Jiang Wang handed it to me, I felt the thickness without even bothering to count it. I simply expressed my thanks and prepared to head out with my luggage. It was Jiang Wang's first time seeing someone on their first collaboration who didn't bother to verify the amount right in front of him. He raised an eyebrow. How about we exchange contact info? If another job opportunity comes up in the future, how can I get in touch with you? My face showed a hint of apology. I'm sorry. I just arrived from abroad today, so I don't have a local phone number yet. How about you give me your business card, Manager Jiang? Once I get a SIM card, I'll add you on WeChat, if that's okay. That works. Jiang Wang rummaged through his pocket, pulled out a business card, and handed it to me. Accepted it with both hands. Jiang Wang still had things to attend to, so he said goodbye and turned to leave. I didn't linger either, pulling my luggage as I followed the crowd, heading downstairs through the staff exit. The mall closes at 10 p.m. When I reached the first floor lobby, I checked the time on my phone and saw it was only 9:40. I ran to the customer service counter with a bright smile. "Hi, I'm back. You're about to get off work, right? Can I treat you to a late-night snack?" The female employee didn't expect me to come back for her. She was a bit dazed. "Are you really planning to treat me to a meal?" "Of course. A promise is a promise. I said I would, so I will."
A person should at least keep their word.
I was being generous and wanted to treat her, but the employee felt she hadn't helped much. She kept waving her hand. "I really appreciate your kindness, but let's skip the meal. It's getting late now, and you're still carrying your luggage. You should find a place to rest soon." People in this country have hospitality embedded deep within their bones. No matter what the employee said about not meeting it, I was determined to treat her to a meal. Once she finished her shift, I dragged her to a nearby spot for milk tea and barbecue. The employee and I were strangers, and her face clearly showed a sense of resigned weariness. I noticed it, so I quickly finished up the late-night meal.
I used a tissue to wipe the grease from my mouth. "Nuna, let me walk you home." She waved her hand again. "I'm over 30 already. Nothing's going to happen to me on my way back. As for you, if you don't find a place and let your family know you're safe, your family will be very worried." I just nodded but still did as I pleased, stubbornly escorting her all the way to her door. Only then did I go find a hotel to rest. The more prosperous the place, the more chaotic the flashing neon lights seemed late at night. After checking into the hotel, I threw the sunshade jacket that had been slashed with a knife into the bin and took fresh clothes into the bathroom to wash up. Stepping out of the shower feeling refreshed, I poured myself a glass of red wine and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window to gaze at the view outside.
Even at this hour, with the neon lights and heavy traffic, the world outside the window still looked as bright as day. I slept until 10 a.m., bought a new phone in City H, and then began my journey back home. I had planned carefully this time. It saved my money, and only start spending once I reached Jiangcheng. Otherwise, it'd end up in that endless loop of being broke again. Being broke isn't the scariest thing. The scariest thing is being broke when school starts. 10,000 yuan allowance from my family could never last me the entire year. Having been used to a lavish lifestyle abroad for so long, I simply couldn't return to live a life of poverty and simple meals.
City H is quite close to Jiangcheng.
After a 2.5-hour taxi ride, I had finally entered the Jiangcheng territory. I rolled down the car window, leaned against the frame, and exclaimed to the driver, "Mister, Jiangcheng is so beautiful. These streets are so clean and tidy. Fresh flowers are everywhere you look. Lush greenery stretches as far as the eye can see. It feels like this taxi has wandered into a vibrant and dazzling land of Oz." The driver nodded in agreement. "You said it. Jiangcheng isn't just a top-tier city. It's also the city with the highest greenery coverage in the whole country. It's not just the roads either. Every household grows all sorts of flowers and plants. Every day you only need to look up
To see so many different kinds of scenery.
There are plenty of famous landmarks too. From the way you talk, you must know this place very well, huh? Haha. Don't let my City H license plate fool you. I'm actually a true blue Jiangcheng local. I've been through every single nook and cranny of Jiangcheng. I can tell you exactly where to find the best food and the most fun, right off the top of my head. I am from Jiangcheng too, yet I was not familiar with this city at all. When I was young, I received an elite education, and my life basically revolved only around school and home, so I rarely had time to go out and explore. Later, after I made my life's choice, I went abroad, and that place was truly a mess. Dirty, dilapidated streets, passers-by who could pull a gun at any moment, a heavy stench hanging in the air, and neighborhoods that were eerily silent once night fell. Perhaps there are undercurrents beneath the night here too, but this is definitely the most suitable place for ordinary people to live. I pulled back my thoughts. "Mister, I don't know Jiangcheng very well. Could you share some fun places with me, so I can take a look around during my summer break?" Well, there's plenty to tell. As soon as I mentioned it, the driver started talking non-stop. Boring long-distance travel time was completely filled with his humorous introductions to local spots. Time just slipped away before I knew it. I got off the car in Jing'an District, Jiangcheng. I paid the fare, took my luggage out from the trunk, and waved goodbye to the driver. The driver gave a bright smile. "Take care, young man. Call me if you ever want to visit City H. I come back to Jiangcheng for a day every week." "Okay," I replied softly. The driver hit the gas and left, so I turned around and asked a passerby for directions. First, I needed to head to the Jing'an District Police Station to apply for an expedited ID card. Even though it was expedited, it would still take 2 days to get the new card. I applied for a temporary ID card to make transactions easier. Before receiving my official card, I was too lazy to keep going back and forth, so I found an esports hotel to stay in. I took my key card and went upstairs in the elevator. After entering the room, I tossed my luggage aside and went downstairs to find something to eat. I got a new SIM card before finally coming back to rest. The first thing I did after getting into the room was to insert the new SIM into the tray of my new phone and power it on. I downloaded a bunch of popular local apps and registered for various accounts. Having lived abroad for years, I had to catch up with the local digital pace, and I needed these apps to explore. Once I finished setting up all the accounts, I immediately logged into Weibo to check the latest gossip. While scrolling, I unexpectedly saw news related to myself from the Fashion Week hosted by the Shen family yesterday. Unedited photos of my performance were sitting right there on the hot search rankings. Even though it was only ranked 10th for a complete newcomer like me, this was already quite an achievement. I smiled broadly and clicked on the hashtag. The article started with a brief introduction to the Shen family's Fashion Week, as well as the big names in the fashion world. In the section showcasing the outfits, my photo was placed right at the very top. There were photos of other models behind it, but mine was clearly the most striking. Even without any retouching, the beauty of the clothes was fully and perfectly displayed. This was my first time on Weibo's hot search, so I excitedly scrolled down to read the comments. I'm so in love with this designer. I liked this outfit the second I saw it. Everyone, this guy is basically a human clothes hanger, right? Amazing. I predict that this guy will definitely be a rising star in the modeling world. Being able to perfectly portray the clothing and receive such positive feedback, a model who makes the clothing even more appealing will be sought after by everyone, no matter which runway they're on. Within 1 hour, I want every bit of information on this man. Most of the comments were discussing the outfits and the designers of this fashion week. A small group was trying to find out my identity, but for now, no netizen had found any matching information. Can't find a single shred of news. This guy must have been a 100% normal person before. I scrolled through the comments for a while, and seeing that no one could dig up any personal photos, I felt relieved and exited the hot search page to click on other trending keywords. After catching up on all the news of the day, I switched over to the TikTok app to have a look. TikTok is the largest live streaming platform in China. From beauty and gaming to outdoor music, they have everything, and the funny videos are incredibly entertaining. I watched some live streams for a bit and suddenly realized a business opportunity. These streamers get a lot of gifts while live, and those gifts can all be converted into cash. If I were to jump into the live streaming world, I might not have to go out and work hard in the sun and wind to earn a living anymore. As I thought about this, I tossed my phone aside, turned on my specialized gaming computer, and searched for some online tutorials. I registered a live streaming account and began experimenting. I haven't thought of what to stream yet, but I don't want to show my face, so I started a gaming live stream. I played games in my usual style, rarely turning on the mic to talk. I played quietly for 3 hours. I played until I was satisfied, but the number of viewers was miserably low, and absolutely no one gave any gifts. Perhaps I just can't make a living as a streamer. I had tried streaming before, and there weren't many viewers then either, so I didn't feel disappointed, calmly turning off the stream. I stood up and flopped onto the bed, picking up my phone to search for part-time jobs in Jiangcheng. They say at home you rely on parents, and out in the world you rely on friends. Right now, I can't rely on my family for anything, and after being away for years, I don't have a single friend. I have no choice but to stand on my own 2 feet. In today's information age, finding part-time work is quite convenient. I spent 2 hours and found 2 part-time jobs I could handle. I immediately called the bosses, discussed interview times. These kinds of entertainment-based part-time jobs don't really require much work experience. After some back and forth with the shops, they even waived the interviews and directly finalized the start times. Part-time jobs are set, right? Now all I need is a place to live, but I still don't know where my family will arrange for me to go to school. After some thought, I decided to go home first before finding a house. On the day I received my ID card, I prepared to go home. Riding my newly bought bicycle, I followed the map and headed back to the Shi family estate. The Shi family mansion is nestled on the slopes of Mount Beishan in Jiangcheng. I arrived at the house in the morning, had a grand family reunion meal at noon, and by the afternoon, I had already been kicked out. Grandpa Shi gave a fancy reason. Didn't you like being outside so much? Haven't you refused to come home for the last 5 years? Don't you want to stand on your own 2 feet? So wait until I'm in a better mood before I invite you back to this mansion as a guest. After the meal, I was kicked out of the house without mercy. I pitifully clung to the iron bars of the main gate and wailed, "Grandpa, you're my real grandfather." Xie Shushin thought I would kneel and apologize, saying I shouldn't have spoken such arrogant words, but instead he heard me shouting, "Grandpa." The mountain road is hard to travel. At least provide a car to take me down the mountain. With a slope this steep, surely you don't want to see your beloved grandson falling to his death on the mountain path, right? Xie Shuxin was both angry and amused by me. Xie Qi.
Do you want to get lost right now on your own, or do you want me to call someone to give you a beating before you get out? Hearing that, I immediately let go of the bars, swiftly tied my luggage to the back of my bike, pedaled as if my wheels were on fire, and in a flash, I had completely disappeared from sight. Xie Shuxin stood watching worriedly for a moment, and seeing that I was pedaling steadily, he finally gave a kind smile. This restless boy is still just as scatterbrained. His personality hasn't changed one bit. Xie Shuxin leaned on his cane and returned to the mansion. The younger generation was still sitting in the living room. Not yet gone, over 10 members of the Xie family sat in a circle, looking very lively. The words Xiezi just said at the table. You've all heard them now. He wants to be independent and won't even stay at home. Xie Xuan. Tomorrow, you move out too and find your own place. Xie Yun, once you reach high school, you must move out as well. Everyone else, manage your own wallets well. Strictly adhere to the rules. If I find anyone dares to break the family code, don't blame me for using the family discipline on you. Xie Shuxin left those final words and leisurely headed upstairs. At that moment, Xie Xuan was holding her phone, messaging her circle of friends to complain about her arrogant and annoying younger brother. Hearing Xie Shuxin's words out of the blue, she froze in place. Grandpa, are you being serious? As a high schooler, she had absolutely no intention of getting a part-time job. Though a 10,000 yuan allowance was a bit tight, if she just stayed at home during summer and winter breaks, then 1,000 yuan a month would still be enough to get by. Only then did Xie Xuan realize that, as much as she was happily laughing at the table earlier, she now felt just as aggrieved and bitter. No wonder I acted so noble and self-sacrificing earlier, vowing not to spend another cent of the family's money. It turned out it was all a trap for her. I was definitely taking my revenge on her for the time she unplugged my phone cord years ago. Truly, it was way too sinister. Of course, those two cold words rang out, shattering all of Xie Xuan's expectations and delusions. Immediately after, Xie Shuxin's silhouette also disappeared, at the corner of the second-floor stairs. At this moment, I was on my bike, speeding down the mountain slope. After reaching the bottom, I looked back up at the midpoint of the mountain, a slight smile playing on my lips. My phone cord isn't something just anyone can unplug. Let Xie Xuan get a taste of her own medicine. Happily, I pedaled toward the city center, finding a milk tea shop to drink and enjoy the AC. I sat by the window with my phone to look for a place to stay. I heard that once school starts, I'll be attending Jinyuan High School in Jinggan District. Naturally, I had to choose a place near the school. I browsed through rental websites and noticed that even the dilapidated houses near the school cost at least 1,500 yuan per month. I kept searching and then looked at my bank balance, so I decided not to rely on the websites anymore and directly head near the school to search in person. Sometimes, even though websites are convenient, not everyone knows how to post rental ads online, leading to a shortage of listings on the web and prices that are much higher. If that previous study abroad money was still in my hands, I would have definitely rented a place immediately without blinking. The trouble is that now, I'm just a poor guy with a balance of less than 15,000 yuan, so I have to be very frugal. After finishing the milk tea, I put my phone in my pocket and pedaled toward Jingyuan High School. The summer break had only just begun, so there were still some students at school taking extra classes. I stood before the school gate, gazing at the place where I'd spend the next entire year. Then, with the school as the center, I scoured the alleys across from it, constantly checking the ads posted on each building's door. After wandering for over half an hour, I finally found a house I liked. This room was only 500 meters from the school, consisting of one bedroom, one kitchen, and one bathroom, about 15 square meters in size, and the furniture was quite complete. The rent was 800 yuan, well within my budget. I immediately dialed the contact number. The phone rang 3 times before the call was connected. Hello, landlord. I'm standing downstairs at the rental unit. I was wondering if it's convenient for you to show me the room now. Yes, I'm right upstairs. Wait a moment. I'll be down shortly. I locked my bike securely and took down my luggage. After waiting about a minute, a young woman wearing a floral-patterned sunshade jacket and slippers stepped out of the building's entrance, carrying a large bunch of keys as she came down. Judging by her appearance, this entire building surely belongs to this D-Tai. The landlord opened the iron gate from the inside and stared me down a few times from head to toe. She brushed her hair back. Hey there, handsome boy. You're the one who wants to rent, right? Are you here all by yourself? Yes, I'm the one renting. Once the semester starts, I'll be studying at Jinyuan. My parents are busy with work, so I came on my own. All right, come on in. I carried my luggage and followed her inside. Tai spoke as she led the way. Right now on the 3rd, 6th, 7th floors, we have vacant rooms. Which floor do you want? Could you let me see the condition of the rooms first? There was only one room left on the 3rd floor, and the rent could be reduced by another 200 yuan, but I discovered that the room was shaped like an equilateral triangle. It would be truly difficult to arrange furniture, so I declined. I then followed her upstairs. This building was quite peculiar, with 16 rooms on each floor. The 6th and 7th floors had vacancies because the stairs were tiring, but there were still only 3 rooms left to choose from. Living on the 7th floor without air conditioning in summer would be unbearable. I thought for a moment and chose the room at the end of the 6th floor hallway. The whole building had a U-shaped recessed design, so this room directly faced the door across the way. The orientation was quite good. It probably wouldn't get too hot in the summer. Tai led me into the room to check the facilities. Take a look. Everything works. I won't deduct from your deposit for natural wear and tear. I don't have many major requirements for renting. First, absolutely no pets allowed. Second, no making noise that disturbs the neighbors before 8 a.m. or after 9 p.m. Third, no littering from high up. Fourth, keep the place clean, whether inside the room or out in the hallway. You know, students like you don't rent for very long. I hope that when you move out, the room can be rented out to the next person immediately, without me having to redecorate from scratch. Otherwise, I'll charge you 10 times the cost. If you have no objections, well, sign the contract and you can have the key. I could manage everything, Tai said, and the room itself had no issues. So I nodded in agreement. Tai told me to wait a moment, and went to get 2 copies of the contract, one for each of us. A 1-month deposit and 3 months rent in advance. If everything looks okay, just sign it. The contract was only 2 sheets of paper, clearly stating responsibilities, obligations, and penalties. After reading it, a bright smile spread across my face. Tai, if I pay for the whole year at once, could you give me a discount of a few hundred yuan? If you weren't so good-looking, it would be one thing, but the problem is you're this handsome, and you're still asking for a few hundred yuan off. Are you trying to kill me or what? I obediently signed the contract, and then handed over the 9,600 yuan. This is all I have on me right now. I'll give you the 800 yuan deposit in a few days. The landlord grunted in response. After writing the receipt, she detached the key for room 602 from her bunch, placed the receipt, the key, and a key card on the table. The key card is for opening the iron gate downstairs. There's only this one single room key. Don't you dare lose it. If you get locked out and I have to replace the lock, it'll cost you 200 yuan each time. Thanks, I got it. The landlady had nothing left to say. She shuffled back downstairs in her slippers. I closed the door and began to unpack my suitcase. There were only 2 changes of clothes inside, plus a single razor. The rental room had no bedding and no toiletries whatsoever, which meant I have to buy everything myself. Great, finding a part-time job just became an absolute priority. But first, I need to get some dinner. I went downstairs and grabbed a meal at the shop across from school, spending every last bit of my remaining 28 yuan. Then I casually headed back to my room and scrolled to my phone for work. I managed to find 2 part-time gigs. One was signing up as a delivery driver on a food app, using my spare time to make deliveries. The other was a steady part-time job at the Zhangcheng amusement park. This steady job was located inside a massive escape room attraction called Alluring Ghosts Smile. I'd be an NPC hanging from wire cables. It's a bit dangerous and challenging, but the pay is actually quite good. 380 yuan a day. The reason I chose this place, besides the satisfying salary, is that it's actually fun. The park operates on a 6-day week with 1 day off, and on that day off, I can use my staff card to enjoy all the rides for free without paying a dime and getting priority access to skip the lines. That means I get to have fun while making money. It's truly the best of both worlds, a total steal. I've been balancing play and work, and in a flash, over a month has passed. On payday, looking at that fresh 10,000 yuan balance on my bank card, the corners of my mouth couldn't help but curl into a grin. I just love money so much. Money loves me too. It's flowing in from every direction. I whispered that to myself twice, then tucked my phone into the locker, started changing into my work costume. Alluring Ghosts Smile is a massive escape room spanning 5 stories, operating on a strict reservation system, offering top-tier entertainment with an entry fee of 5,888 yuan. You have to play in teams, and the group size cannot be less than 30 people.
The reason the tickets are so pricey is that they only host one session per day at most. The amusement park doesn't let a new group in every hour to ensure the current player's experience isn't interrupted. This escape room is so vast that anyone who completes it in one day must be a high IQ genius. Many players can't finish it all at once, so they end up coming back for a second or even a third day. Those who can afford to play here all day usually don't mind spending a bit extra for a second day, and the appointment for the next group will only be confirmed once the previous group has fully cleared the game.
When I first started working here, I played the role of a red-robed zombie, responsible for only a few rooms on the first floor. Later, thanks to my outstanding agility and unique scare tactics, I can now go to any floor I want, popping up wherever I please. Sometimes I even infiltrate the player's team so they can experience a truly authentic sense of dread. Today, my assigned role is within the group of players, a team of 30, not all of whom are necessarily friends, as they can be strangers randomly grouped together. With me blending in as staff, no one will notice anything's off. I finished changing into the schoolboy uniform for the game, tidied up my short hair, and stepped out of the dressing room. The dressing rooms are separate spaces, and as soon as I emerged, I saw other boys coming out in the other changing rooms as well. Everyone was a stranger to one another. Shy ones kept their heads down and headed for the meeting point, while the extroverts proactively greeted others or moved closer to strike up a conversation. I'm the extreme extrovert type, the kind who has to say a few words to everyone I meet. Before long, I was surrounded by 4 others, all 11th graders from the elite Jingyuan High School, and they spoke with quite a polite manner. Shetzi, your surname is She? Could you be from the She family of Beshen in Jiangcheng? I raised a hand to cut him off. Whoa. A hero's origin shouldn't be questioned. Asking further would just be rude, right? I guess not then. But don't worry, we've already decided you're one of our brothers. I broke into a wide grin. Noticing their stunned expressions, I quickly pulled it back. Oops, I accidentally let my creepy NPC smirk slip out. The little game hasn't even started yet. Scaring these kids off wouldn't be good at all. The 4 of them looked at each other uneasily. Fu Shijin, the one who just said he wanted to be my brother, immediately backed away, a few meters from me. This guy looks as bright as the sun. So why did that smile look so terrifying? Just like those school bullies they have. But obviously, I'm no school bully. Aside from that sinister grin at the start,
my behavior afterward was incredibly friendly. Once at the meeting point, I goofed around loudly with the 4 boys, successfully making everyone believe I was also a student at elite Jingyuan school. Everyone assumed the 5 of us came together. Later, when I start making suspicious moves, the chances of being suspected will be significantly lower. After all, business is about making money, but if there are too many people, the experience suffers. We can't have 5 NPCs guarding one spot. I almost let that creepy smile show again. Fortunately, I restrained myself just in time. I lowered my head, rubbed my cheek, and looked toward those standing on the outer circle. It's past 10 already? Why hasn't it started?
I couldn't wait any longer. Chen Duoduo glanced at me, unable to hide the grin on his face either. Please wait a moment longer. There are still a few players caught in traffic. They should be here in about 20 minutes. To express their apologies, they've covered the ticket costs for everyone present today. Some of the wealthier players couldn't help but shout out in amazement. That's no ordinary player. That's a living god of wealth. We'll wait. Even another hour is fine. Just tell them there's no rush. Anyone who can throw around money for that many tickets must have a background that's anything but ordinary. Even if some of the guests here were rich, they wouldn't be foolish enough to cause a stir. To avoid bumping into the wrong people, the risks outweigh the benefits. I tugged on Fu Shijin's sleeve, my face full of admiration and curiosity. Wow, that's amazing. Treating everyone to hundreds of thousands like it's nothing. Shijin, can you guess who it might be? Hearing my question, Fu Shijin actually began to think seriously about it. After a long while, he offered a few uncertain names. Maybe Shen Qingshu of the Shens, Yun Weiwei of the Yuns, or Liu Ruyan of the Lius. They often hang out together, and they spend money very freely. Muga thinks the odds of running into those ladies is like finding a needle in a haystack. Shijin, I really don't think so. Children of those 3 major families don't even show up at ordinary banquets. Fu Shijin waved it off. I was just guessing. It's not like I'm sure.
Fair enough. They didn't pursue the topic further, switching to where to find good food and cool spots in Jiangcheng. This escape room probably can't be finished in one day, so let's plan for 2. Then we take a break the day after tomorrow. How about we go to the forest garden for photos on the day after that? Sounds good, I'm in. Muji and Qin Feng said in unison. We're fine with that too. Little C, what about you? Want to come along? If you're short on cash, we'll cover everything. It seemed Fu Shijin really liked me. He was incredibly generous with his offer to treat me. I did a quick mental calculation.
That day happened to be my day off, and I'd already worn out all the rides at the park. So it was about time I expanded my map a bit. No need for a free ride, brothers. I actually have a professional photography license. Just hire me as your group's personal photographer. You guys pay for my ticket, I'll bring my camera, and I'll give each of you 30 professionally edited shots. I'll provide the rest as raw files, no albums included. Deal? What do you think? Good? Even though they'd technically still be paying for me, having a fair trade in place felt much better than just taking their charity. While we were chatting, the latecomers strolled in as if they were walking through their own garden, and the entire lobby suddenly fell silent. As Muji spotted those 5 radiant figures, he caught his breath. Shijin, my man, you actually guessed 3 of them right. Are you some kind of psychic or what? Fu Shijin rolled his eyes. They call this being a master diviner, not some psychic ghost. Muji, do you even know how to talk? I looked toward the crowd. I couldn't match all the names to faces yet, but my gaze was drawn to one girl in particular. It was the same girl I'd seen at the Fashion Week a few days ago. Her aura was truly one of a kind, with the otherworldly grace of a noble lady, a gentle, quiet demeanor carrying an elegant, scholarly charm that was impossible to look away from. I lightly tugged on Fu Shijin's sleeve. Hey, Shijin. Who's that girl, second from the left? Her aura is incredibly striking. Fu Shijin leaned in and whispered in my ear. That's Shen Jiyi of the Shen family, one of Jiang Chang's big 4 clans. Shen Qingshu's older sister. She's gorgeous, but she's quite cold. She also goes to Jingyuan High, so it's best to keep your distance if you see her. There are some crazy guys at Jingyuan who form some kind of support squad, and any guy who dares get close to Shen Jiyi usually ends up in a bad way. Qin Feng grumbled in annoyance. Shijin. Never mind that squad. There's no shortage of idiots at Jingyuan as it is. Is that even something you should be listening to? Regardless of whether I should have or not. You've heard it now, I chimed in. That's great. Let's exchange WeChat after the game. We're family now. Family shouldn't stand on ceremony. If anything interesting happens, you must tell me. I want to hear it all. I love hearing about it. I'll never get bored. Mu Xuan grinned mischievously. Curiosity killed the cat, you know. Aren't you afraid of knowing too much and getting taken out? Everyone had arrived. The game was about to begin. Before entering the escape room, each person was given a blindfold. Blindfolded, they lined up and moved inside. Shen Jiyi, Shen Qingshu, Young Weiwei, Liu Ruyan, and Wen Wan had all chosen not to change into the game costumes. The clothes they were wearing were all custom-made, costing anywhere from tens to hundreds of thousands. Those who didn't know their identity didn't dare stand behind them or hold their clothes, fearing they might accidentally ruin something they couldn't afford to replace. And those who knew their status dared not get close either. After all, they were all just students. Even if they knew these families were obscenely wealthy, there was no need to crawl and flatter them. Knowing they wouldn't catch the eye of such people anyway, rather than risking offense through some careless interaction, it was better to keep a respectful distance and stay safe. That way, everyone could feel at ease. You certainly have some guts, but do you really want to pull that attention-seeking stunt? Of course not. The group briefly discussed it for a moment, and finally decided to let the young ladies go first, while the others would follow a meter behind. Since there was more than one guide, having 2 people lead the procession was no problem. With the plans settled, the formation was set. I took the very last spot in the second half of the line. Fu Shijin had originally intended to look after me, but he was quite the coward himself. Alluring Ghost Smile had topped the rankings for the past month as the most terrifying escape room. He really didn't dare go last, so I started putting on an act. I lowered my head and said tremulously to Fu Shijin, Shijin, don't worry, I'm not scared. I'll protect you guys. Fu Shijin looked down at my hand on his arm, noticing it was shaking uncontrollably, and after a moment of hesitation, he ultimately couldn't bring himself to be at the rear. Little C. If you're scared, just stay close to me. Everyone put on their blindfolds, and the group began to move inside. At first, light still seeped through the edges of the blindfolds, and even without seeing the path ahead, everyone's steps remained fairly steady, until they truly entered the pitch-black zone, where a chilling, eerie breeze within the chamber brushed against their skin, sending goosebumps across their bodies. Once fear takes root in the heart, everyone, male or female, will naturally. Of course, I was not among them. Hearing the sudden piercing screams echoing ahead, the corners of my mouth, hidden in the darkness, finally curled into an unabashed grin. Hey babies, Daddy's coming to give you some love. Ha 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 ha. Fu Shijin suddenly spun around, nearly knocking me over. Little C, did you just laugh? You just laughed out loud, didn't you? Regained my balance. But how could I admit that? Of course not. Shijin, stopped joking. I didn't hear any laughter.
I spoke while reaching out to grab his shoulder. Fu Shijin screamed in terror again. What was that? What just touched me? This guy is truly scared out of his wits. I quickly spoke up. Shijin, it's me. It's me. I'm so scared you just threw my hand off and I fell behind. I have no idea who else is around me.
Hearing that, Fu Shijin calmed down slightly. He continued following the group forward, but I received no further reply, only the sound of footsteps growing more distant. Puzzled, I stealthily pulled back my blindfold just a fraction to peek. The lights in the escape room were a dim haze of red, blue, and total blackness, greatly limiting visibility, with some spots being utterly pitch black without a sliver of light. But my eyesight was exceptionally sharp. Everything appeared perfectly clear. Fu Shijin was leading one of my colleagues by the hand. I fell silent for a moment. Shijin, it's not that I wanted to scare you. Occasionally, someone in the group would get separated from the front, and whoever fell behind would invariably come face to face with one of my colleagues. At the moment, I looked the most normal among the staff, whereas the others, under these dim lights, were truly terrifying to behold. Once the staff led everyone to their designated spots, they quietly withdrew. Everyone held their breath and waited, with only the howling wind in their ears. Why is it so quiet? Can we take off the blindfolds now? As soon as the words were spoken, the crackling hum of electricity suddenly rang out. Players, please remove your blindfolds. Great, finally. I pretended as if I had just taken off my blindfold too. In the next second, screams erupted one after another from everywhere, piercingly loud. My colleagues had scared the guests so much they were falling over, shaking uncontrollably. Before they could have any extreme reactions, the NPCs quickly withdrew. By extreme reactions, I mean flailing around, or running blindly, which could easily lead to injuries. So the NPCs had to vanish instantly. Usually someone faints right at the start, so it was a relief this group was only screaming and running, while their complexions seemed mostly okay. I quickly scanned the area, then pretended to tremble as I rushed toward Fu Shijin, helping him up while his face was pale as a ghost, flailing his arms and legs while sitting on the ground. Shijin, that was so scary. Are you okay? Fu Shijin's lips were trembling, and it took a long time before he could even speak. I gripped his shoulders tightly. Shijin, can you hear me? He took 2 deep breaths. Little C, weren't you just holding my hand? How did you turn into an NPC in the blink of an eye? As soon as I took off the blindfold, I almost saw. Poor me. I widened my eyes with a look of pure innocence and sincerity. I don't know either, you just pushed me away. And you didn't answer when I called. When I took my blindfold off, no one was around. I was scared to death too. Then I added, someone pulled my hand, and I thought it was you. I just kept walking while holding on. Must have been. The other side taking advantage of the situation. I nodded, cautiously looking around, then pulled him along to regroup with Mu Ji, Mu Xuan, and Qin Feng. Mu Ji and Mu Xuan looked okay, but Qin Feng was completely traumatized. Mugi was gently patting his shoulder to comfort him. I stood quietly to the side and observed. Once Qin Feng regained his composure, someone already started searching for clues. Everyone's already getting to work. We should join in too. Qin Feng's eyes were already red. Shijin Mugi, I'm a bit scared. I don't think I can keep playing. But we've come all this way already. You can't exactly tell our friends when school starts that we ran away as soon as we walked through the door, right? But oh well. No more buts. Once you started, you have to see it through. The group finally began to explore their surroundings. Fu Shijin Mugi and Mu Xuan teamed up to protect Qin Feng. Only then did he stand up, hunched his neck, and moved into the center of the formation. This escape room at Alluring Ghost Smile is not the type where everyone stays in one space together, opening room after room by solving puzzles. Sometimes the system intentionally triggers mechanisms, to trap players in different areas, scattering them into small groups of 2 or 3 to explore on their own. I had already planned everything in my head. Amidst the chaos, I trapped Fu Shijin and the others in a room with a bit of light, while I pretended to accidentally step on a mechanism and vanished into the darkness. I slipped into the staff corridor, quickly changed my costume, and moved through the darkness, leaping and running around, crawling eerie style right in front of the players, twisting and chasing them, all while letting out blood-curdling laughs. What on earth is that? Is that even human? How can someone crawl backward like that? And it's moving so insanely fast. Holy crap, it just flew upward. Mommy, help, it's coming this way. Run, stay away from me. Good grief, we can't escape. Chen Wan slapped me so I can wake up. My legs have completely turned to jelly. Of course, I wasn't just scaring them. Occasionally, I drop a few lines to reveal some crucial information, though whether it actually registered with them wasn't my concern. Among the players, there were the total cowards,
But of course, there were also the bold and daring.
Shen Qingshue's group, who clearly enjoyed thrill-seeking, didn't run when they saw me rushing at them. Instead, they actively moved to surround me. Are you a guy or a girl? Qingshue, what are you thinking? It's definitely a guy. No girl could crawl that fast. I slowly raised my head, long messy hair veiling my face. I broke into a wide grin, revealing fangs that glowed with a faint green light. In the next second, I suddenly lashed out with my sharp claws and lunged forward. Shen Qingshue quickly leaned aside to dodge. By the time she turned back, I had vanished without a trace. She rubbed her eyes, using her flashlight to search everywhere. Behind her was a wall. She reached out to touch it. The wall was solid as a rock. Where did it go? Did you guys see anything? No idea. It just seemed to vanish on the spot. Can you not say such scary things? How can a person just disappear like that? There's definitely a secret passage. Let's find it, or I won't be able to sleep tonight. I had already been pulled up high by the cables, hiding in the shadows above, taking out a mirror and putting in contacts to hide my pupils. After adjusting my position, I widened my eyes, showing only the whites, aiming for the blind spot in their vision, and suddenly dropped down from above, lightly tapping Yun Weiwei on the shoulder. Senior, were you looking for me? Yun Weiwei froze and turned her head, only to face a deathly pale face tinged with gray, the most horrifying part being the eyes that were pure white, with fresh red blood dripping from the corners of them. The jump scare was a total success. She let out a piercing scream while, flailing her arms and legs instinctively, quickly backed away, and using the cable to swing myself, I glided over beside Wen Wan. Literally gliding, the body was limp as if there were no bones at all. A cold gust of wind swept past, and a figure suddenly loomed right in front of her. They stared at each other in utter shock. Wen Wan couldn't even manage to let out a single scream. She squeezed her eyes shut and fainted on the spot. Liu Ruyan hurriedly reached out to catch her, backing away with a pale face. At that moment, they couldn't help but wonder, was the person standing before them really human? Shen Qingshu stood in front to protect her friends behind her. Pursing her lips, she shone the flashlight directly into my face. I bared my teeth in a grin. The fangs, glowing green under the light, looked even more gruesome. I stiffly twisted my neck. Nuna, do you want to play with me? I love playing with twinkling lights the most. Snap one picture, then another. So there are many, many beautiful photos. Suddenly, the lights in the secret room flickered incessantly. Even the flashlight in Shen Qingshu's hand began to blink along with them. Now she was truly stunned, since she had bought that flashlight from outside. Her hands moved faster than her brain, throwing the flashlight away immediately, and the flashlight shattered as it hit the ground. Snap! The secret room was plunged into pitch-black darkness. I silently appeared behind Shen Qingshu without a sound. It hurts so much. Why hasn't anyone come to save me? Nuno, will you come save me? My name is Tan Meili. They're here. They're almost here. A mournful scream echoed through the space, as if someone were enduring brutal torture. Shen Qingshu trembled, her hair standing on end, frozen in place. Sister, are you behind me? Shen Jiyi gripped the bridge railing and took a deep breath. I'm here. This place really is a bit scary. She had also been startled just now. My live horror scene ended. I quickly withdrew, removed the makeup, changed, and sent the photos. Everything finished within 10 minutes. Fixing myself up, I didn't return to the room where Fu Shijin's group was locked up, but blended into another area to solve puzzles with other players, eventually leading everyone to rescue Fu Shijin's group. Bright lights always make people feel at ease. Fu Shijin's group hadn't been scared at all. They sat together exploring comfortably, but the puzzles in their hands were truly difficult. They still hadn't found the answer. The door suddenly opened, and those outside discussed cautiously. Hey student, are there any jump scares inside? Fu Shijin and Mu Gi shook their heads. None, but the puzzles here are very hard. We still haven't solved them yet. They say there are no jump scares. People started walking in one after another. I heard they still hadn't finished solving, so I intentionally went last and closed the door. After locking the door tight, I pounded on the door frantically from outside. Why did the door suddenly lock? I'm not even inside yet. I'm so scared, more than a dozen people in the room jumped. The lights are still on, so they quickly regained their composure. Fu Shijin handed the paper in his hand to a newcomer. That voice sounds like Xiaoxi is locked outside. Mugi, I'll go check. The rest of you just keep solving the puzzle. Right, Shijin, there's strength in numbers. Everyone contribute what they can. Use your muscles or your brains. Fu Shijin pushed through the crowd to the door and called, Xiaoqi, Xiaoqi. Is that you? I heard his voice from outside. I rubbed my face with my hands. Shijin, yes, it's me. Xiaoqi, don't be scared. We're all right here inside.
We'll be out as soon as we solve the puzzle. I'll stay right by the door with you, so don't be afraid. Yeah, I replied softly with a weak voice. I pulled my knees up and sat leaning against the door, curled up into a ball, looking truly pitiful. Someone exploring arrived at this area and found me sitting on the ground, fearing I was an NPC in disguise, so they cautiously probed. Hey, are you a human or a ghost? The corner of my mouth almost twitched upward, and I had to quickly suppress that twisted urge. I put on a distressed face and looked up. I'm a player. I lost my friends. They're locked inside over there. I'm too scared to go alone. Several people emerged from the shadows. These ladies, after exploring for a while, also looked a bit disheveled. Wen had regained consciousness, sitting right next to Shen Ji like an accessory, occasionally peeking out to look around, both curious and terrified. Their wary expressions clearly showed they still vividly remembered the horror from earlier. I secretly observed them, pretending to have seen them but not knowing them. Still sitting stubbornly on the ground without moving. Shen Qingxu was likely the bravest of the group.
She walked over to me and reached out to push the door behind me. This door was open before. I nodded. It was open, but just as I was about to walk in, the door suddenly swung back and slammed shut. And after that, no matter how hard I push, it won't open. Shen Qingxue hummed in response, then raised her hand to knock on the door. Hey, are there any clues inside? The people inside looked at each other blankly. They hadn't solved anything yet either. Thinking more people meant more help, they copied the puzzle onto another piece of paper and slipped the paper and a pen through the crack in the door. We've passed the puzzle out. Take a look at it. This one is pretty tough. Something from the door crack poked me. I instinctively flinched aside and looked around warily. Shen Qingxu glanced at me, letting out a sneer. So cowardly, yet you still want to play. I blinked my eyes, quickly stole a glance at her, then shifted myself away. Shen Qingxu picked the paper up from the ground and opened it, then handed it to Shen Jiyi. Sister, it really is a bit hard. Let me see, Shen Jiyi said as she took the paper. Her fingers were slender, emitting a soft silver glow under the flickering candlelight. These hands are just way too beautiful. I couldn't help but mutter to myself. They're more than good enough to be a hand model. I stood up, leaning my back against the wall next to the door, silently waiting for them to solve the puzzle and open the door. This group had clearly come prepared. The puzzle that stumped a whole crowd was solved by them in just over 10 minutes of scribbling. The door had to be opened from the inside, so Shen Qingxue slid the answer sheet back through the crack, and the person inside immediately entered the code to unlock it. A moment later, a piercing scream suddenly rang out. I hunched my shoulders violently, my lips turning pale. Shen Qingxue stepped forward and grabbed my hand, then pushed me toward Wen. Don't go screaming randomly. Just follow behind Wen later. We're brave. If any NPCs show up, we'll block them for you. But if you start running and screaming like crazy, then don't blame us for leaving you behind. I nodded repeatedly. Since we weren't close anyway, I just kept fiddling with the hem of my shirt, intentionally avoiding any physical contact. The screaming in the room lasted for 3 minutes before stopping, and Shen Qingxiu stepped forward to push the door. This time it opened very easily. The once bright room now only had dim, flickering light, barely enough to see shadows. Shen Qingxiu led Liu Ruyan inside to scout around, then called from the second-floor stairwell. Sister, there's no danger. The path is over here. Come quickly. We're going up this way. Yun Weiwei was the first to move. Shen Ji turned to look at me. You go ahead of me. Nodded slightly, cautiously nudged ahead of her, and followed behind Yun Weiwei. As we reached the middle of the darkened room, several NPCs suddenly rushed out, flailing their arms and legs wildly, making strange, eerie howling sounds. I let out a soft cry and quickly covered my mouth, frozen in place and trembling all over. Shen Ji hesitated for a moment, then stepped closer and pushed away the NPCs approaching me. I seemed stunned, showing no reaction at all. Once the NPCs had all retreated, I collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. Wen wasn't doing much better than me, except she was clinging tightly to Shen Ji's arm, her complexion looking a bit better. Are you okay? It's fine to scream if you're too scared. We all have earplugs anyway. My suppressed manner of not daring to scream earlier looked truly pitiful. I'm okay, my voice trembled. I pulled a tissue from my pocket to wipe my face, then slowly stood up. Shen Ji pulled her hand back, her voice cold. Let's keep moving forward. Young Weiwei led the way, and they successfully moved to the stairwell. In the dilapidated corridor, a light flickered constantly, illuminating everyone's faces in flashes. Just stay close to the wall. While walking, the light suddenly went out completely. The pitch-black passage made the sense of oppression even heavier. I quietly pressed a hidden switch on the wall. The next second, a man's sobbing echoed through the passage. Help me.
Please save me. No, don't come over here. Shen Ji stared into the dark void ahead to the left, taking 2 more steps up the stairs. Wenwan immediately grabbed her hand. Ji, don't go any further. Wait until it gets a bit brighter ahead before moving. What if it doesn't get bright again? Wenwan was silent for a few seconds, then whispered a suggestion. Then could you crouch, low and well crawl up slowly? Shen Ji crouched down, meeting Wenwan as they inched upward. After moving up 2 steps, she asked in a low voice, Are you still okay? Yun Weiwei was fumbling in the dark. Sister Ji Yi, I'm fine, I've linked up with Qing Shui. I wasn't asking you, I was asking that boy. Yun Weiwei teased in a drawn-out voice, Oh, asking that boy, I see. She just wanted to lighten the mood a bit. But unfortunately, no one joined in and I didn't speak either. Since it was dark, there was no need to act anymore, and a sly smile played on my lips. I silently dashed to the upper floor, scaring the daylights out of Shen Qingshu, then quietly returned to my spot and lay down, pretending to have fainted. Shen Qingshu didn't see anything. She only felt a cold hand touch her neck. She screamed in terror, drawing everyone's attention. Liu Rian asked, What happened, Qingshu? Shen Qingshu irritably rubbed her neck. Something just touched me. How can they move around so easily in this pitch-black darkness? They probably have night vision goggles. There's no sound and their steps are light. They must have dance training. Everyone knows NPCs are just people in costumes. Don't get startled by every little thing. Shen Ji analyzed calmly, then looked down. Hey student, can you hear us? If you can, say something. I kept my eyes closed and remained perfectly still, since a fainted person can't talk. I had to commit to the act, which made even Shen Ji fall silent. Since I was the only boy there, they couldn't bear to leave me all alone. After a brief silence, the lights began to flicker again. Wenwan saw that I was still motionless and let go of Shen Ji's arm. Sister Ji, I think he's been scared unconscious. Let me go check on him. Shen Ji glanced at her. Your hands are still shaking. Let me go. I was lying in a corner of the stairs, where a pile of blood-stained white bones lay on the floor, and I just happened to be leaning right against them. Shen Ji walked up a few steps, bending down to give me a light pat. Before her hand could reach me, the white cloth behind me was suddenly flung open, revealing a hideous demon face. The demon lunged towards Shen Ji with bared teeth. Her hand reacted faster than her mind, instinctively throwing a punch straight at its face. The NPC, who hadn't intended to actually attack, clutched his eye and wailed, in an aggrieved tone. I told you not to hit the NPCs. How could you bring yourself to punch me like this? Shen Ji awkwardly withdrew her hand. Sorry, it was just a reflex. The NPC, Ji Bada, took a few steps back, complaining to me through the earpiece. Brother Chi, that pretty girl just hit me. Wah, you have to get revenge for me. My face was covered by the white cloth, making it a bit hard to breathe. Shut up, I feel like hitting you too. Shen Ji felt a little embarrassed, and seeing that Ji Bada was no longer bothering them, she let out a sigh of relief. She pulled the white cloth all the way off. Hey student, wake up, there's still more to the script. You can't just stay fainted forever. I took the opportunity to flutter my eyelashes, and slowly opened my eyes. After a few seconds of confusion, I bolted upright, looking around with a terrified expression. Something just grabbed me. The NPC was gone, so I relaxed my body, and immediately flashed a bright smile. Thank you everyone for not leaving me here alone. Under the flickering, intermittent lights, my smile carried the fragility of someone who had just escaped disaster. Shen Ji wavered slightly, but quickly regained her composure. Let's keep going. I clumsily stood up and brushed the dust off my cargo pants, my hem still hugging the edge of the wall. Stepping up slowly, Shen Ji glanced at the pile of white cloth, thinking she would find that NPC guy later to apologize. The difficulty of the secret rooms kept changing, and the challenges on the second floor weren't too demanding. 2 hours passed, and everyone finally reached the last stage. At this round, I met Fu Shijin's group, and immediately ran over to hug them excitedly. It's so good to see you all. Fu Shijin was equally delighted. Xiaoxi, are you okay? Earlier at the first floor stairwell, an NPC suddenly rushed out. We panicked and just ran straight up here. I nodded, then pointed towards Shenji's group solving puzzles nearby. I met them outside the door. When the door opened and I couldn't see you guys, I had to stick with them to clear the stages until now. Shen Qingshu happened to overhear, and let out a slight smirk. This guy only knew how to be scared the whole way. When it came time to act, he didn't help at all. He didn't know how to solve this single puzzle, yet he had the nerve to say he cleared the stages. I caught a glimpse of Shen Qingshu's expression, laughing secretly to myself, but still pretended to be oblivious. Fu Shijin saw clearly who those people were, and a gossiping glint immediately flashed in his eyes. He leaned into my ear and whispered, "Xiaoxi, your luck is really something. I can't believe you ran into that group. Doesn't Shen Jiyi look incredibly refined and ethereal? Shen Qingxue, isn't she always as hyper as a monkey? Isn't Liu Ruyan extremely gentle? And young Weiwei, doesn't she look as arrogant? As if she has millions of yuan in her pocket?" I blinked my eyes, acting naive. I don't really know. So many NPCs targeted me the whole way. My mind is still a complete blank. What a waste then.
But I have to admit, this escape room is truly terrifying. When you're walking around in constant fear, there's no mental energy left to observe others. Fu Shijin thought for a moment, then lowered his voice again. "Listen, Xiaoxi. If you manage to get their WeChat later, you absolutely must add them. Chat with them often, so that after graduation, you won't have to worry about finding a job." I lowered my voice as well, my tone extremely serious. "Will the salary be over 6,000 yuan? I was browsing the web the other day and saw an expert said the average salary now is 5,999 yuan. I don't expect to be super rich. I just don't want to be a burden to anyone." Fu Shijin slapped the back of my head, saying earnestly, "Jiangchang is a first-tier city. What can you do with just 6,000 yuan? Do you plan on living in a basement and eating box meals every day? If you can get into the headquarters of the Shen Group, then the lowest monthly salary would be around this much." As he spoke, he secretly held up 3 fingers in front of me. I took a wild guess and muttered, 300,000. Fu Shijin was speechless. How could it be that high? That it must be 30,000. If 30,000 is the lowest, that's already pretty great. I even looked around cautiously before whispering in his ear, "Shijin, I'll do my best to get their WeChat." Fu Shijin raised his hand in an encouraging gesture. 10 or so minutes later, everyone finally solved the code for the path to the upper floor. Shen Qingxue walked up to me, saying with disdain, "Now that you've found your friends, just stick with them, because you sticking with us only slows everything down." Fu Shijin couldn't help but glare at her, as if anyone was dying to follow them anyway. With his left hand, he led me, and with his right, he led Qin Feng. "Let's go. Let's clear this stage quickly so we can go home and rest." "Yes, boss." I obediently replied and quickly left with them, my attitude being very clear. Shen Qingxue shrugged and went back to Shen Ji's side. Shen Ji looked down at her. "What is it?" "It's nothing. I just went over to tell that kid to stop following us, and then they just left." Shen Ji said nonchalantly, "The passage is open. Let's go too." Going up, the first room on the 3rd floor was a restaurant brightly lit. Since the game lasted so long, they couldn't let the players starve all day. Meals were divided according to the number of people, each with a balanced portion of meat and vegetables, along with drinks and fruit for dessert. I was just wondering if I was going to starve to death. Turns out there's food upstairs. Let me find the restroom first. They said there's one on every floor, but I couldn't find it until now. Ha ha ha, be careful. What if while you're in there, a hand suddenly grabs you? That person's face turned pale instantly. The staff here wouldn't be that cruel, would they? Hard to say. You might get scared out of your wits as soon as you enter. That person immediately grabbed their friend's hand. "Come find it with me." To the left of the 3rd floor restaurant was the restroom. Several players entered trembling, checking every single stall before daring to settle in. I also felt like I needed to use the restroom. "Shijin, are you guys going?" After receiving a no for an answer, I headed straight for the restroom. How could I find it so accurately? Because there were signs in the restaurant, and anyone who wasn't blind could see them. Restrooms in the dining area usually didn't have NPCs to scare people. But whether there would be a scare depended on my mood. After finishing up and sitting out, I was in a very good mood. I conveniently turned off all the lights in the restaurant and restroom to give the players inside the restroom a high-end VIP experience, hearing a thunderous, terrified scream from the women's restroom next door. I contentedly turned the lights back on, then slipped back into a men's stall to eavesdrop. Not long after, Fu Shijin and Mugi and Dee came running over frantically. "Xiaoxi, are you in there?" I opened the stall door, and with slightly reddened eyes, I poked my head out. Fu Shijin ran up with a face full of guilt. "The restaurant was so bright. I thought this was a safe zone. I'm so sorry. I should have come with you earlier." Seeing that he was genuinely worried about me, I secretly blamed myself for overacting a bit. I gave a slight smirk, then turned to comfort him. "I'm fine." It didn't seem like anything rushed in just now. It was just a sudden power outage. But the screaming from the women's restroom was so tragic that it just startled me. Now that the lights are back on, everything's okay. Fu Shijin sighed in relief. "That's good then. Are you done?" "I'm done." "Then hold this for me. I need to go too, since I'm already here anyway." He was still holding a plate of fruit.
I nodded and went to wash my hands, taking the item from Fu Shijin as he entered the restroom. Mu Gu stood waiting for a while, seeing no scary segments. Xiao Si am going for a bit too. All right. Once the two of them came out, we all returned to the restaurant together. The girls who had just come out of the restroom
were loudly complaining about the NPCs. Are cruel, they wouldn't even let us be in the restroom. I smiled faintly, quietly hiding my achievement. Shen Qingshu happened to look up and caught my relaxed, effortless smile. Her brows twitched slightly. Sister. Quick, look over there, handsome guy. Shen Ji remained unmoved, only focusing on her meal. Originally thinking she'd just eat something to get by, she didn't expect the flavor to be exceptionally good. Liu Ruyan didn't look up at all, while Wen Wan and Yun Weiwei followed. Shen Qingshu's gaze. Under the lights, my face looked truly radiant. He really does look a bit familiar. Wen Wan suddenly slapped her thigh. Qingshu, isn't this the handsome guy? Who was with us on the second floor? You even said he was annoying, but seeing him clearly now, he's a total heartthrob. Shen Qingshu's face stiffened, her brows furrowing deeply into a frown. Are you kidding? Is he that little crybaby? It's definitely him, Wen Wan stated with absolute certainty. Shen Ji's gaze flickered slightly, and she looked up toward me. I felt her gaze, and when I turned around, it was Shen Ji. I gave her a friendly smile, then naturally looked away, continuing forward with Fu Shijin. I can look at beautiful girls anytime, but if the food gets cold, it won't taste good. The food in the restaurant was exquisite in color, aroma, and taste. There are times I'm willing to play the guest, just to snag a free meal, since the food at the staff canteen is quite ordinary. After sitting down, I opened my lunchbox and began to eat heartily, eating quickly but with refined manners, a testament to my natural upbringing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Shen Ziyi staring at me from a few tables away, as if she were lost in thought. Shen Qingshu snapped out of it, and seeing her eldest sister in a daze, she waved her hand. Sister, what are you looking at? Shen Ziyi pulled her gaze back. It's nothing. Eat quickly, we still have more exploring to do. Once everyone was finished, they returned their lunchboxes and continued through the stages. I followed Fu Shijin's group through 2 secret rooms. Amidst the harassment of the NPCs, I scrambled around. Once I managed to separate from Fu Shijin's group, I slipped into the staff passage to change costumes, ready to start a new round of scaring. Other NPCs usually target the faint-hearted, jumping out at anyone who looks scared. But not me. I love messing with the brave ones. Think you're brave? Then let me give you a real taste of fear, making even the toughest ones tremble with horror. That's where the real sense of achievement lies. Among this group of players, there were 7 who were quite bold. Besides Shen Ji's trio, there were 2 other men and 2 other women. The 2 young men, one named Sun Chao and the other Mu Chang, were friends. I contacted the tech department in the monitoring room, asking them to lock onto the 2 groups with the best teamwork and the sharpest puzzle-solving skills. Then I used 3D projections combined with physical triggers, blending illusion and reality to haunt them. Watching their faces turn pale, I couldn't help but smirk from the shadows. Now this is more like it. Leaving behind clues for the stage, I moved on to find my next target. The others were in for a real shock. When I reappeared before Shen Qingshu, I was hovering steadily in midair. Shen Qingshu's face darkened. Show me whatever tricks you have left. I won't be scared this time. I smirked. Is that so? I lightly raised my hand, and a wicked gust of wind suddenly blew from behind her. The wind was powerful, and while I remained motionless in the air, she was forced to slide inch by inch toward me. To an outsider, this scene looked like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. The wind was so strong it made Shen Qingshu scowl. Shen Jiyi and Liu Ruyan rushed to pull back. She was almost lifted off her feet, yet she kept sliding forward. The 2 of them pulled until they were out of breath, trying to change the positions, but the wind seemed to be mocking her. Whichever way she moved, the wind followed. Wen Wan couldn't help but exclaim, "This wind is so weird. Sister Yi, what kind of prop can control the wind and only blow at Qingshu like this?" Shen Ji's mind raced, but she had never encountered such equipment, and unable to find an answer, she could only shake her head. So what do we do now? Just wait for the wind to stop. They can't move at all against this force. Floating in the air, I let out a loud laugh, voice deliberately low and elongated, sounding exactly like the dubbed voice of a monster in a movie. Shen Qingshu's blood ran cold at the sound. Even though I was right in front of her, the laughter she heard came from behind her, so close it felt like a whisper in her ear. Sister, why don't you turn around and look? Mei Li is right behind you. She stared at me in front of her, her voice catching. Sister, do you hear something behind me? Shen Ziyi shook her head, glancing behind Shen Qingshui. I don't hear anything, and there's no one there. You're imagining things.
There's probably no technology right now that can make sound audible to only one person. They were standing so close, yet she wasn't wearing any Bluetooth headsets. Shen Jiyi paused for a moment, carefully observing Shen Qingshu's ears, and sure enough, there was nothing. I leaned in close to her ear, lowering my voice. Sister, don't overthink it. Only you can hear my voice. This is a special treat from Mei Li just for you. Shen Qingshu was clearly panicking. He said only I can hear him. Do the rest of you really not hear anything? Shen Jiyi shook her head. Lu Ruyan and Yun Weiwei also shook their heads. There's no sound. Don't try to scare us with your acting. Wen Wan was suddenly terrified. Wait, is this place actually haunted? How could there be ghosts? Don't scare yourselves. Isn't that NPC still hanging there in the air? I quietly landed behind Shen Jiyi, placing a hand on her shoulder. Sister, were you talking about Mei Li? Shen Jiyi shivered. She looked at me still hovering in mid-air, and stiffly turned her head around. There was no one behind her, but the weight on her shoulder was unmistakably real. I whispered in her ear, Shh, sister, don't tremble. Mei Li is going to tell you a secret. She turned her head sharply, but there was still no one. I chuckled. I'm right here in front. She instinctively looked up, and from mid-air, I suddenly lunged down in my blood-stained uniform. She threw a punch by instinct, but it only hit empty air. I passed right through her with a blast of icy wind, an immediate sense of horror overwhelming her mind. You're so fierce, sister, getting physical the moment we meet. We'll meet again. And when we do, Mei Li will take very good care of you. The wind had stopped before they knew it, and the group turned around together. Under the dim blue light, I stood there without a shadow. Shen Qingshue's voice trembled. Sister, he doesn't have a shadow. Wen Wan looked down, and beneath my feet was a patch of pitch black, making it look as if I were floating in a void. In the next second, I turned into a wisp of blue smoke and vanished, leaving no trace, impossible to follow. Wen Wan quickly ducked behind Shen Jiyi, sandwiching herself in the middle like a hamburger. The faces of all five were deathly pale, as the unknown and the inexplicable are always the most terrifying things. Where I vanished, there was actually a secret mechanism, just a trapdoor to slide down to the first floor. But to outsiders, it looked like disappearing into thin air. Stepping out of the staff passage, I looked down at my ankle, having accidentally twisted it in my haste earlier. Luckily, my acting remained steady, and no one noticed how I had actually moved. But after this, I definitely won't be able to go out and scare people myself anymore. Whatever, I'll just play as a guest to finish the game. I limped toward the bathroom, washed off the makeup and red paint, changed into the Qing Cheng school ghost uniform, fixed my hair, and took the staff elevator to the 3rd floor. Once upstairs, I checked the situation first, and while the secret room was empty, I quietly slipped back inside, leaning against the wall as I moved inch by inch. As soon as I stepped out, I bumped into 2 players. I immediately put on a pitiful face. Can I go with you guys? I've twisted my ankle. Surely there are still good people in the world. What bad luck, getting injured again. Sun Chao and Mu Cheng immediately agreed to let me explore with them. Those two were truly brave, standing in front of me whenever an NPC appeared, less than greater, except before protecting me, less than greater than. They would give the NPC a thorough beating first, less than greater, then shield me in the center. Since I was the mastermind, I had no right to complain, so I just followed along like a ghost. After passing through 2 rooms, they ran into Fu Shijin's group, who, seeing me limping, ran over and crouched down. Xiaoxi, how did you twist your ankle like this? It looks quite serious. I lowered my eyes and explained softly. I was careless while hiding from an NPC. Luckily, I ran into Sun Chao and Mu Cheng. The 2 of them protected me, and nothing dangerous happened after that. Fu Shijin stood up to thank Sun Chao and Mu Cheng, actually considering me one of their own. My eyes sparkled, and I put my arm around Fu Shijin's shoulder. Shijin, for the next stages, I'll have to cling to you like an accessory. Oh, that's nothing. Actually, it's better that you're stuck. I can't run around everywhere. At least I won't lose you while running. I chuckled. True enough. Seeing I had found my friends, Sun Chao waved goodbye and pulled Mu Cheng away to explore elsewhere. Their group already had 5, and if I joined, it would make the team too crowded, so it was better to go our separate ways. Without strangers in the group, Fu Shijin and the others felt more at ease. Fu Shijin took the hand on his shoulder, leading me over to sit on a chair. Xiaoxi, now that you're here, take a look and see how to solve this one. Muji said, bringing out a large sheet of paper. I glanced over it. Haven't you already solved it? We filled in the blanks, but we still don't know what the password is. As a staff member, I obviously couldn't give them the answer directly. After a thought, I said, maybe search the room again. You might have missed an important prop. We've already searched everywhere. Nothing? Then try the other rooms. Sometimes props aren't kept in the same room. You have to look very carefully. True. We've already turned this place upside down. Let's check the other rooms.
Xiaoxi, can you walk? I smiled and held out my hands. Fu Shijin stepped closer, helping me up. Then let's go. The group walked along, chatting and laughing, when they ran right into an NPC. Both sides stared at each other, and instantly the NPC screamed and lunged toward them. I don't know where Fu Shijin got the strength, but he scooped me up and ran for his life. I was speechless. So you're actually this kind of person, Fu Shijin. Fu Shijin carried me for at least 200 meters, successfully losing the NPC. Muji, Muzuen, and Qin Feng were all shocked. Shijin, why didn't you tell us you were a strongman? Fu Shijin put me down, blushing as he replied, I don't know where the strength came from, but Xiaoxi is really light. I called him out immediately. I weigh 70 kilograms right now. For a height of 178 centimeters, that wasn't heavy, but carrying it while sprinting was definitely no easy feat. By the time we reached the final room on the last floor, it was already 10 p.m. the next day. The third and fourth floors had resting areas, but except for me and Fu Shijin's group, most players chose not to rest. Despite having battled for 2 days straight, no one felt tired. On the contrary, as they reached the final stage, they were all incredibly excited. For instance, Shen Qingshu and Wen Wan's group haven't stopped muttering since I scared them on the third floor. Didn't he say he'd show up again? Why hasn't he appeared yet? Is that NPC planning a massive grand finale? How did he even disappear into thin air like that? If I don't find out how, I won't be able to sleep tonight. According to the layout, this must be the final room. Don't tell me he's not going to show up at all. He's actually going back on his word. Everyone gathered again in the final room, where the lights were bright, a clean and spacious space, without a single trace of a horror atmosphere. Everyone scoured the room, but found nothing, as if there were no clues at all. How are we supposed to get down from here? What's this ball for? There's a rope too, let's try pulling it. Zhang Xiao spoke as he reached out and gave it a hard tug. The words, don't touch it, from the group, rang out at the exact same moment as Zhang Xiao's action. With a loud bang, the lights in the room suddenly went out. Outside the window, lightning flashed and thunder roared. Torrential rain battered against the glass. It looked just like that stormy night when Yiping went to ask her father for money. Ah, don't come near me, stay away. I'm about to burst into tears. Anyone else is fine, but I really don't want to see Dan Meili. The group screamed for a long time. In the room, aside from their own frantic screams, there wasn't an NPC in sight. The door was blocked, and it seemed like no one could enter. Really? The girls were so scared they kept their eyes shut, trembling. The boys kept their eyes open, looking around. Lightning flashed continuously outside the window, illuminating their faces fitfully. And indeed, there was no sign of that terrifyingly made-up NPC. A moment later, someone crept over to the window to peer out. Good God, the production value is insane. That thunder and rain looks so real. Successive peals of thunder rumbled, making their hearts quiver with every strike. There were no other guests in the amusement park at this hour, and it was pitch black in every direction outside. The only light came from the street lamp at the school gate, its glow steady and reliable, like a beacon guiding everyone back home. I remember now. Qingcheng School Ghost is about school bullying. The tragic deaths of all the students were caused by the cruelty of bullies. In the end, the bully died because of the very pranks his own cronies orchestrated. The school ghosts are divided into bullies and victims, and the victims are the ones who bring life to the survivors. Dan Meili mentioned earlier that the only student who escaped was the class monitor of 12A1, who on a rainy night used a safety rope outside the classroom building window to descend to the ground and leave the school. Since then, Qingcheng High School No. 1 has been sealed off with no one ever daring to return. They wouldn't actually make us do that, right? This is the 5th floor, and without any professional training, who would dare to go down? Someone tried to push the window open, but it wouldn't budge. There was a hidden combination lock in the bottom right corner. It must be real. I can see the ropes swaying out there, but the window is locked. They're literally trying to kill us. I don't even have the motivation to look for the code. Just let me die here. No one save me. I don't dare either, it's too high. I've always been afraid of heights. Since it's the last stage, can we just quit the game? No wonder. On the Qingcheng School Ghost Hall of Fame, there are only photos of a few people. Setting aside how hard the previous stages were, hardly anyone would dare to attempt this escape route. Is it any use screaming for an exit now? Of course it's useful. If a player wants to leave the game, please return the way you came to the first floor entrance, where our enthusiastic ghost classmates will take very good care of you on your way back. Through the static of the intercom, there was a clear note of smugness. No one here wanted to go back the way they came, terrified they might cross paths with Dan Maley again. Though Dan Maley was supposedly a good ghost bullied to death and was quite playful, his way of scaring people was absolutely horrific. In contrast, anyone who dared to face Maley was a true hero, while they were just cowards. Hesitating before the escape rope, a long silence filled the air, as the brave ones began searching for clues, and the timid ones sat in a corner, feeling gloomier than ever. During their exploration, everyone managed to find a flashlight, and the beams of light swept back and forth across the room. One light caught some photos scattered on the floor, another shone toward the locker area, where a safety sliding device had appeared out of nowhere. On the photos scattered across the floor, many had writing on the back. The group gathered all the photos together, sorted out the ones with writing. When they saw the words and the youthful faces in every photo, the entire group suddenly fell silent. Why are our faces in these photos? When were these even taken? It must have been Dan Maley. Maley kept making clicking sounds back then. It turns out he was actually taking photos. Can we please stop mentioning Dan Maley? Just hearing those 3 words terrifies me now. Chin Feng picked up his own photo. It's actually quite a good shot. Can we take these home after the game? Of course we have to take them. It's our own faces on here. We can't just leave them here. Every single one looks great. Wow, who is this guy? He looks just like a king from an apocalyptic world. Fu Shijin glanced over and his eyes lit up, snatching the photo away. Xiaoxi, it's you. Did you secretly bribe Maley? Only your photo looks like it has some high-end filter. You look insanely handsome. I scratched the back of my neck. Maybe it's just my flawless handsomeness. Doesn't matter the angle, I always look good. Fu Shijin punched my shoulder lightly. Xiaoxi, do you have any other friends? Can I have their WeChat? I just want to know how they put up with you, and let you live in peace until now. My eyes sparkled like 1,000 stars as I looked around. Aren't all of you my friends? And I know why you put up with me. It's because the law doesn't allow murder. As I was joking around, Shen Qingshu saw her own photo, and the corner of her mouth twitched. Did Dan Maley hear me cursing him the whole way? What's wrong? Let me see. Wen Wan crowded closer to Shen Qingshu. Seeing the photo in Shen Qingshu's hand, she pursed her lips tight, not because she was angry, but because it was just too funny. She was afraid she wouldn't be able to stop herself from bursting out laughing. In the photo, Shen Qingshu wore a tight tank top, revealing arms covered in tattoos, tattooed neck, and a massive gold chain, paired with tight capris and shiny leather loafers, while she attempted a smug smirk for the camera. Shen Qingshu's face was originally very beautiful, and she was overall very attractive, but this gangster boss style clashing with her pure features was a contrast so ridiculous it was unimaginable. Who could possibly hold it in? Wen Wan was suffering internal damage from holding back her laughter. Young Wei Wei peeked over and burst into a fit of laughter. Ha ha ha. Qingshu, don't say a word. This is absolutely legendary. The Photoshop on this photo is incredible. Ha 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 ha. Young Wei Wei laughed even harder. Wen Wan couldn't help but roar with laughter too. Shen Qingshu's face turned black with rage. She gnashed her teeth, stuffed the photo into her pocket, and frantically searched through the pile on the table. She found photos of Shen Jiyi, Liu Ruyan, and Young Wei Wei as well. She grabbed Young Wei Wei's photo and laughed triumphantly. Wei Wei, this one of yours isn't any better. I'm definitely keeping it as a souvenir. Young Wei Wei sensed trouble and immediately lunged to get it back. As arrogant as she had been while laughing just now, she was equally pathetic while struggling for the photo. Shen Qingshu was indeed a bit mischievous. If she got her hands on these photos, they would surely be spread across every group chat. All her dignity would be gone in an instant. Shen Qingshu, Yun Wei Wei, and a few others had their photos photoshopped as Cat Cafe staff. There was clearly a connection between them. Everyone transcribed all the writing from the back of the photos onto a large sheet of paper. Then Shen Jiyi took charge of rearranging the words. Once the assembly was complete, the back of Mu Xuan's Cat Cafe staff photo revealed the contents of a letter. My name is Dan Meili. When I first arrived at Qingcheng High School No. 1, I was very happy, because Qingcheng is a top-tier school in the province, with an incredibly high graduation rate. After getting here, I realized that this school was always shrouded in a strange atmosphere, with people mysteriously disappearing every single day. Otherwise, they were just injured. I secretly formed an exploration team to delve deeper into the story behind it all. Just when I had finally managed to uncover a sliver of the truth, I was treated so cruelly. My friends fell one by one right before my eyes, until finally only I remained, my dear friend. If you are reading this letter, that I am likely no longer of this world.
If you possess a heart full of courage and can bear the weight of the consequences, please take the evidence I gathered and get it out of here. Let the world know exactly what kind of terrifying purgatory Xingcheng High School number 1 truly is. Let the world see clearly how this place harbors demons disguised in human skin. Thank you, Tan Mei Li.
Following the instructions in the letter, everyone moved all the cabinets in the room and found where Tan Mei Li had hidden her things, secured by a combination lock. What's the code? I have no idea. I wonder if the code on the back of that photo is meant for something else instead. Let's just give it a try. Sun Xiao entered the numbers 530914. The screen displayed incorrect code. This isn't it. Maybe we need to search the room more. How about we open the window first, so if anything unexpected happens, we can make a quick escape. 530914 isn't for the chest. It must be for the window. Wen Wan walked to the window and entered the code. This time it was correct, and the window opened automatically.
This wasn't a sliding window, but a folding one, retracting completely into the wall, revealing a massive opening. Why did it open so wide? This feels really unsettling. Just as Qin Feng finished speaking, a dark shadow lunged inside from outside the window. Ah! Wen Wan shrieked in terror and dashed behind Liu Ruyan. As the scream rang out, there was a heavy banging and crashing at the door, as if something outside was desperately trying to break in. Everyone descended into a frantic panic. I was holding onto a shivering Qin Feng, the two of us leaning on each other to regain our composure. What do we do now? It feels like we're running out of time. How are we supposed to find a code in this pitch black? Should we just forget the chest and go down now? If we get down there, the game will probably end. But what was that dark shadow just now? Is it gone yet? My heart is about to jump out of my chest from fear. Shen Qingshu held her flashlight, sweeping it across the room, until the beam stopped in the middle of the group, illuminating a long-haired NPC in a tattered, blood-stained uniform. This figure was none other than Tan Mei Li. All right, she's actually here. Shen Qingshu pulled Liu Ruyan along as she strode forward. You scared us enough times. Now that we're a big group, you still dare to crawl over here all by yourself. The long-haired NPC adjusted his wig, revealing a delicate face hidden behind the messy strands. He grinned at Shen Qingshu, disguising his voice. Don't be upset, senior. Right now, I'm the safety officer, in charge of putting protective gear on everyone. Later, when you slide down the rope, you must go one at a time. In order, please, no pushing or shoving. Goodness, look at that cheeky face. As everyone got a clear look at Tan Mei Li's face, their mouths twitched in disbelief. So it was this guy who had been spooking them the whole time. Or they had imagined he was some handsome guy. What a bunch of fools they were. The rapid pounding on the door added a sense of urgency. The safety officer, Tan Mei Li, quickly began to strap the safety equipment onto everyone. Shen Zhuyi called Shen Qingshu back. We need to find the code for the chest first. A lot of people have probably slid down the rope already, but there are only a few names on the leaderboard, which proves that just escaping doesn't necessarily mean you've cleared the stage. Once everyone had finished putting on their gear, Tan Mei Li patiently gave step-by-step instructions on how to hold the rope to slide down. One player was eager to go down immediately. He walked over and asked, Hey, Tan Mei Li, can I go down now? Of course you can. Just let me hook up your safety line first. Outside the window, a light rain was falling. As the young man climbed through the window, with the help of the safety rope, he slid down quite smoothly, reaching the first floor in only about 5 minutes. There were safety staff waiting below as well, with very thick air cushions spread out. Every safety measure was meticulously taken care of. Once the first person had safely descended, the others felt much more at ease. Fu Shijin also thought that just getting down would end the stage. He turned to Mu Gi and me. Let's go down too. I shook my head vigorously, and too scared. I don't dare to. You two go for it. Fu Shijin didn't push me, since it was the final stage anyway. Even if they didn't slide down, the organizers couldn't keep them locked in here forever. Fu Shijin was always one to challenge himself. He was the one who had invited the whole group here to play. He walked to the window, hooked on the safety rope, and slid down. Shen Zhiyi had by now found the chest, containing those secret documents. The 5 of them gathered around the chest, entered the code, and opened it, revealing a thick stack of documents, including both texts and photos. Shen Qingshu was the first to pick them up. After reading, her face went pale, and she gasped. How disgusting. Those teachers really deserve the worst. I can't believe they built an underground lab to treat students like lab rats for their experiments. The reason King Cheng number 1 has such a high pass rate is because hardly anyone lasts until the college entrance exam, and only the absolute best students remain. No wonder something felt off this entire time. We didn't see a single teacher throughout the whole journey,
It turns out those ghosts were all students. No wonder the school bullying was so severe. With the teachers never showing up, it seems they were never doing anything good in the first place. What do the documents say? Wenwan curiously took the stack of papers, and after reading expressed her outrage just like Shen Qingshu. Shen Jiyi calmly reached out. If there's a lab, then there must be a hidden plot as well. Let me see them. Only 7 people were left in the room now. Qin Feng and I glanced at each other. He whispered, Shao Si, there's still a hidden plot. Are we joining in? I hesitated slightly. They probably won't want to drag along extra baggage. They likely won't take us with them. True enough. Well, let's just see what happens in a bit. Shen Jiyi, suspecting a hidden plot, carefully read through the documents from start to finish. When he was done, he told Shen Qingshu to hold on to the files while he circled the room, discovering an elevator door that blended perfectly with the wall. The elevator was still functional. Qingshu, everyone come over here. There's an elevator leading to the first basement level. Shen Qingshu and the others hurried over and stepped inside the elevator. Just as Shen Jiyi was about to close the door, he saw the 2 of us still standing in the secret room, paused for a moment and asked, Do you 2 want to come along? Qin Feng quickly looked up at Shen Jiyi, asking uncertainly, Can we really come with you? Of course, Shen Jiyi confirmed. Shao Si, let's go with them. The game is almost over anyway. Since I was free to choose, I nodded eagerly in agreement. Qin Feng pulled me along, and we both entered the elevator. Shen Jiyi closed the door. In the confined space, no one spoke a word, and the atmosphere was a bit awkward. Qin Feng awkwardly adjusted his uniform. Hi everyone, I'm a junior from Jingchuan High School in Jiangcheng. My name is Qin Feng. Liu Ruyan nodded politely. Hello. In Liu Ruyan, also from Jingchuan, and these are my friends. The elevator then went straight down to the basement, where a hidden room awaited, like a miniature museum of atrocities. There were no NPC jump scares here, but the sights before us were utterly horrifying. The narrow corridor stretched for 2 kilometers, with a bright red carpet covering the floor, and walls plastered with slogans. The first slogan read, Keep moving forward, and never look back. Qin Feng stared blankly at those words. His emotions suddenly boiled over, and he burst into heavy sobs. I pulled Qin Feng into an embrace, patting his back. There, it's okay. Stop crying. We just need to remember history and never forget our original resolve. I just can't help it. It's so tragic. So many students. All died under the experiments of those demons. Did they have no parents or children of their own? That's why they met their retribution. A massive fire, and they all perished. Only the class president escaped, exposing their atrocities to the entire world. So everyone could see their shameless, wicked faces. Qin Feng nodded, his mood seemingly brightening slightly. At the end of the passage was a sprawling plaza, with a sign reading Museum Exit hanging diagonally above the door. A few reporters were waiting under a nearby streetlight, waiting for Shen Qingshu to hand the documents over to them. The very moment the reporter received the file, the game officially came to an end, and the group emerged as the final winners. None of those present wore expressions of joy, but were instead solemn and silent. The staff here were well acquainted with this reaction. After presenting the Medal of Bravery to Shen Jiyi, they led everyone to gather with the other players. Shen Qingshu wondered, We all came out together. So why is my brother the only one with a medal? The staff explained, only players who decoded the correct code for the document chest and found the elevator leading to the museum are eligible to receive a medal. Everyone gathered in one place. Escape room staff stood before the crowd and announced, Dear players, it is now nearly midnight. I'll give everyone 30 minutes. Change back into your own clothes. For those who wish to go home and rest, we will have staff members escort you to the park's parking lot. If anyone would like to hear a debrief of the game, please meet me after you've changed. I went to wash up thoroughly and tossed the game costume into the laundry basket. Less than 5 minutes later, I returned to the gathering point. As for Shenji's group of 5, since they wore their own clothes during the game, they did need to change, and naturally, they weren't about to shower or change here. They were currently gathered around the escape room. Manager to hear the plot explanation. I walked over and sat down, yawned, and rested my chin on my hand to listen in. Shen Qingshu turned to look at the boy who had just arrived. It's you? She was slightly surprised. She'd thought I was only handsome because of the costume and styling, but it turned out these looks were entirely natural. Sensing someone staring at me, I looked right back at her, with a hint of confusion in my eyes. Who is this? Why is she staring at me? In this information-heavy era, while I was posing as a player, I absolutely couldn't reveal my NPC identity. Even under her gaze, I remained silent. After a 2-second lock of eyes, Shen Qingshu grew flustered and glared at me sharply, before quickly looking away. Shen Qingshu pursed her lips, her heart suddenly racing for no reason. She was already a junior, and as a wealthy, beautiful young lady, she certainly wasn't a stranger to the feelings of romance.
But my expression earlier had just been so adorable, matching her favorite type perfectly. However, my personality seemed too fragile.
Wanting to cry at every little thing, not exactly the kind of person she would normally go for. Thinking this to herself, Shen Qingshu snuck another peek at me. I had already looked away by then, fiddling with my phone, a faint smile playing on my lips. I wondered what they were saying in the group that was so funny. Afraid of being caught staring, Shen Qingshu hurriedly shifted her focus back to the manager, listening intently as he recapped the game's mission milestones. Once the summary was over, it was time for the Q in a session. Wenwan raised her hand. Mr. Liu, I want to know how Tan Meili controlled the wind, and why did our flashlights stop working? Manager Liu Feng smiled at Wenwan. Trade secret. I can't reveal that. Basically, it's all down to engineering and technology. Nothing supernatural or ghostly involved. Shed thought she'd find out once she got out. Wenwan switched to another question. Then how about how Tan Meili would appear and disappear, as if she had teleportation powers? That's also a trade secret. I can't tell you. Wenwan still didn't give up. Then how did she make only one of us hear her voice, while the others couldn't? Surely you can tell us that. Miss Wen, that's still a trade secret. We truly cannot say. If every player knew the tricks, we wouldn't be able to create that sense of dread anymore. Besides, we can't let other studios copy our exclusive techniques. Wenwan looked around. Seeing no strangers around, she leaned in close to the manager's ear, whispering, Mr. Liu, just tell us quietly. I swear I won't tell anyone else. And I won't breathe a word on the escape room forums. Liu Feng remained firm. I'm sorry, we have a non-disclosure agreement. If these methods are leaked by us, we would face massive fines. For Wenwan, anything that could be solved with money wasn't really an issue. Oh, that's fine, I'll just pay the fine for you. Please just tell me. Liu Feng smiled and shook his head. I believe I still have professional ethics to uphold. Chen Jiyi, who had been silent until then, suddenly spoke up. The safety officer in our final room, was that Tan Meili? That I can tell you. Liu Feng replied, yes. He was playing the character of Tan Meili. Shen Jiyi thought for a moment, then asked, so he and the Tan Meili NPC, who scared us in the previous rooms, are they the same person? I raised an eyebrow, slightly lifting my head to look at Shen Jiyi. Why was he suddenly asking about this? Shen Qingshu, Liu Ruyan, and the others also turned their eyes towards Shen Jiyi. Clearly, after seeing the safety officer's face, they had already assumed that the safety officer, Tan Meili, was the one who had been spooking them all throughout the game, because in terms of both build and costume, they were almost identical. Hearing this, Liu Feng shot me a quick glance, before nodding firmly, yes, it was the same person. Having received the confirmation, Shen Jiyi stared at Liu Feng for a long while, but he couldn't extract any useful information from Liu Feng's expression. He stood up and said, it's time to go. It's getting late. Let's head back and rest. Shen Qingshu's group stood up one by one, and the five of them walked out together. I looked away and went back to my phone, my fingertips sliding gently across the screen. A few seconds later, I suddenly remembered something. Wait, I almost forgot. I jumped up and ran after the five of them. Shen Jiyi, wait a second. Shen Jiyi stopped. Shen Qingshu, who was talking to him, also came to a halt. Both turned to look at me. I approached Shen Jiyi, and as I neared them, I intentionally feigned a trip, lunging straight forward. Shen Jiyi instinctively reached out to catch me, but was pulled by such a tremendous force that we both ended up tumbling down. Using the momentum, I grabbed both Shen Jiyi and Shen Qingshu by the necks, wrestling them both to the ground. As it turned out, I didn't fall into anyone's arms, but instead landed face first on the floor, getting a mouthful of dust. I was really choking on it. My first reaction upon falling was to frantically scramble back up, coughing to spit out all the dust. Then, looking apologetic, I reached out to pull Shen Jiyi up. Shen Qingshu refused any help, standing up on her own with a dark, frustrated expression. Hey, are you some kind of four-stomached herbivore monster? How are you as strong as an ox? The two of us couldn't even withstand one collision from you. Shen Qingshu was about to say more, but Shen Jiyi pulled her back, told her to be quiet, and asked, Hey, are you hurt anywhere? Hearing this, I looked down at my hands, then at my legs. My hands were fine, but my knee was slightly scraped. I glanced at the scrape and quickly pulled my pant leg down. I'm okay, thanks for asking. It's just a minor scratch. No problem. Shen Jiyi didn't personally check on me either, to see if I was truly all right. Since I said I was fine, he believed me. Was there something you needed me for? I held out the medal in my hand. You dropped your completion medal. The medal lay in my dusty palm, yet it still shone brightly. Completion medal for the ghostly laugh of Ching Chang game was actually quite beautifully designed. Shen Jiyi took the medal and tucked it into his pocket.
his voice gentle and polite. "Thank you." With that, he turned and continued walking. I didn't just stand there either, but limped back to the chair and sat down. Having started the act, I had to see it through to the end. Liu Feng saw me pull up my pant leg and stood up to bring over the first aid kit. In our line of work, getting a few scrapes and scratches every day is pretty common, so we always keep the first aid kit fully stocked with everything needed for minor skin injuries. Shen Qingxiu reached the door and turned back to see me tending to my own wound, whispering curiously to Shen Jiyi. "I thought he ran after you to ask for your WeChat ID. To be so close to you and remain completely unfazed, that's really something you don't see every day." Shen Jiyi gave Shen Qingxiu a light tap on the head. "It was just a chance encounter. Do you think I'm just some walking trophy, that everyone who meets me has to fall for me?" Ooh. Maybe he also knew this was just a fleeting meeting. So he never mentioned his real name from start to finish, and they only heard from my friend that my name was Xiaozi, without even knowing which characters were used to write it. 30 minutes passed in the blink of an eye, and everyone had changed into their own clothes and gathered once again. Those who wanted to hear the debrief surrounded Liu Feng, while the others, after receiving their souvenirs from the escape room organizers, followed the guide to the bus park outside to be taken back to the parking lot. Fu Shijin wanted to check out the museum, so he decided to skip the plot analysis and went excitedly to find a staff member to ask if they could lead the group on a tour of the museum. I quietly followed behind them, since I didn't have anything else to do at the moment anyway. Movie saw me limping and hurried over to support me, asking, "Xiaozi, isn't your sprain supposed to be much better by now?"
I replied shyly, "Yes. But I accidentally tripped again while walking just now. It should be fine by tomorrow. It won't affect our trip to the botanical garden." Fu Shijin stepped to my left side, bending down to inspect my leg. Seeing that the surface wound was indeed not too serious, he stood up and said, "Xiaoxi, since you've already walked through the museum once, you don't need to come with us again. Just go home and get some rest first. We'll pick you up tomorrow at 2 p.m., and then we'll head to the botanical garden together." Knowing my own situation well, I didn't insist on tagging along. "All right, let's exchange WeChat IDs then. See you tomorrow." Everyone took out their phones, added each other on WeChat, and immediately created a group chat. Mu Ji and Mu Shuen helped me outside and put me on the bus to leave the park. Meanwhile, Fu Shijin went to find his staff member to ask for a guided tour of the museum. After leaving the park, I hailed a taxi to go home. As I climbed the stairs, my steps were light and swift, with absolutely no sign of being injured at all. That fall was never a big deal in the first place. How could such a tiny scrape make me so weak that I couldn't even look after myself? When I work at the escape room, I normally get some rest during the night anyway, so I didn't need to spend much time catching up on sleep. At exactly 8 a.m., I woke up feeling perfectly refreshed and alert, taking a leisurely skateboard ride out for a spin. Delivering food was actually just along the way. I planned to stop by the mall to grab some clothes when I returned from abroad. My clothes and all those miscellaneous items were basically all thrown away or sold off. I only sent back the electronics I use daily. The few outfits in my closet right now really aren't fit for a photo shoot with friends. Hanging out with friends who are perfectly compatible, of course, I can't afford to look sloppy around them. After finishing a few deliveries, I headed to Jiang Cheng's largest budget mall. Items costing only a few dozen or a few hundred yuan. I honestly can't get enough of them. I took a long stroll through the mall, slowly getting lost in the sweet calls of "Hey Handsome." Everything looks so good. I might as well take it all. Left empty-handed, came back fully loaded, stepping out of the mall with bags in both hands. Back home, I cut off all the price tags, dumped everything into the washing machine. After washing, I dried them, ironed them smooth, and hung them neatly in the closet. Only after that did I shower and blow-dry my hair, feeling refreshed in my newly bought shirt and trousers. Sitting in front of the mirror, styled my hair to look neat and masculine. Not bad at all after a bit of grooming. It's only 1 p.m. now. I grabbed some fruit from the fridge to snack on. Feeling bored, I flipped open my sketchbook and casually doodled a few strokes. Without realizing it, the image of a girl, as beautiful as a painting, appeared on the paper. I froze for a second. Why her? Tossing the pen aside, I tore the page from the book, crumpled it up, and threw it in the trash. Shen Jiyi truly possesses a beauty that could make anyone's heart skip a beat. I drew her without even thinking. Too bad when I think about it. I can't help but let out a soft sigh. Just then, a pleasant ringtone echoed. I swiped to unlock the screen, answered the call. "Xiaoxi, we're downstairs at your place now. Hurry up and come down." Hanging up, I pushed Shen Jiyi to the back of my mind,
grabbed my camera gear case, and headed downstairs, pushing open the building door to step outside. Waiting beside a black Vito, 4 sharply dressed guys were standing by the car, and they all looked up at once. When they saw me in my cream white shirt, looking refined and clean cut, they all swallowed hard and swarmed around me. Mugi threw an arm around my shoulder. Xiaoxi, the second I saw you, that cinnabar mole from the novels suddenly appeared right here in the flesh. Fu Shijin patted my other shoulder. Xiaoxi. I was almost regretting not being a girl just now. I looked at Fu Shijin with a playful, mocking glint. Well, my standards aren't that strict. True love knows no gender, you know. If it's you, I think I could go for it. How about it? Go for it, my foot. The 4 of them looked at each other, stunned. It took a moment for them to react, before they all stepped back at once. Fu Shijin said in an exaggerated tone, I see you as a brother, and you want to be my boyfriend. I bit my lower lip and sighed melodramatically. Sigh. As expected, some people are all talk. Love that isn't backed by actual deeds is nothing but a lie. The other 4 couldn't help but burst out laughing. Fu Shijin grabbed my arm again. Xiaoxi, with these looks of yours and this acting talent, it would be a waste not to be in movies. There's a really popular guy on Kuaishou lately who's doing commercials and even feature films. He must be making over 10 million yuan a month. If you joined Kuaishou, there wouldn't be any room left for those guys. Your top-tier visuals would crush them in an instant. I sighed upon hearing that. I actually tried live streaming for money on Kuaishou before, but barely anyone watched. Life is always so cruel. It was a stinging slap in the face. It seems in this world for some people, just having looks isn't enough. Fu Shijin cleared his throat. It's too hot out here. Let's get in the car and keep talking. Yeah, I went to the back of the car, intending to put my case in the trunk. But when I opened it, it was stuffed with gear, not a single bit of space left. Oh well, luckily it's a 7-seater. There's still an empty seat inside for my things. I was the last one to join the group, so I naturally took the very last row. Once in the car, the live streaming topic was dropped. Fu Shijin briefed everyone on the afternoon plan. The Forest Botanical Garden is in the suburbs. It's a 40 to 50-minute drive from Jingyan District. Luckily, it's summer break, so traffic isn't too heavy at this hour. We reached the Botanical Garden entrance around 2:20 p.m., bought the tickets, and drove straight inside. As the photographer, I opened my gear case, assembled the camera, and hung it around my neck, walking with Fu Shijin while pulling my case. Fu Shijin played with my camera for a bit. This whole setup of yours isn't cheap. This didn't cost anything. Did you rob someone for it? What exactly gave him that delusion? I didn't have to go that far. This was a prize from a youth photography competition. Fu Shijin immediately looked impressed, giving me a thumbs up. That's awesome. Any contest that gives out million yuan gear as a prize definitely isn't some amateur event. It's nothing special, really. Just trying to be modest, don't want to be too arrogant. Fu Shijin's lip twitched. Even so, Xiaoxi, could you try being just a little more humble? I feigned shock. Shijin, is my radiance blinding you? That I'm truly sorry. I ended up laughing myself. Fu Shijin felt his hands itching. He really wanted to punch me. Luckily, years of etiquette training helped him hold back. They chatted and laughed as they walked, reaching the shore of Yuzhao Lake, where Fu Shijin wanted to shoot. Unfortunately, the inner lake area was cordoned off. A brand's crew was there shooting a magazine cover. What now? It's blocked off, we can't get in, and no telling when they'll finish. Let's just go shoot somewhere else first then. Let's go. The group changed locations, heading to the greenhouse garden, and shot until after 5 p.m. Everyone was exhausted, but Fu Shijin was still hung up on Yuzhao Lake. I had Uncle Jean the driver get the lake viewing gear ready. Let's go back and check Yuzhao Lake. See if that crew is done yet. If they've finished, we can still make it there for the sunset. All right, let's go. They picked up the pace and hurried over, but unfortunately, the lake was still cordoned off. Fu Shijin was a bit speechless. Don't they care about lighting for a cover shoot? It's just a few photos. How can it take this long? We've taken hundreds of shots all afternoon. Shijin, maybe we should go over and ask, see if they can spare a corner for us to shoot. The lake is so big, it's not like they're shooting wide shots forever. Feeling unwilling to give up after coming all this way, he had to try. Let's go. They walked down the steps together to ask. Before they could get close, the photography teams. Staff at the cordon line stopped them. Hello, handsome young men. This is an important closed set area. You can't come any closer. Fu Shijin offered a polite smile. Miss, I see you've been shooting all afternoon. My friends and I just wanted to go by the lake, snap a few quick photos. It'll only take about half an hour. Could you please make an exception for us? I'm sorry about that, but we're in a huge rush to finish this cover. If I let you in, I won't know what to tell my superiors. Fu Shijin was a bit frustrated. Then can your team speed it up a little? Yujiao Lake is a public area after all. It doesn't make sense that we paid for tickets, yet only you guys get to use it. The staff looked awkward. I'm really sorry. We're also stressed out of our minds. This is our first time working with COS7GA. I assume you've heard of COS7GA, one who went viral on the hot search list over a month ago. His runway photos from H City Fashion Week.
Honestly, they were breathtakingly beautiful. Who knew that once we hired him, he was nothing like we expected? Every single shot requires endless editing, and he can't even control his facial expressions. We were supposed to be done by this morning, yet here we are, and it's still not up to standard. We urgently need these photos by tomorrow. I'm afraid the whole crew will have to work through the night. So could you handsome guys please bear with us? Kabai-J? I narrowed my eyes slightly, looking past her, toward the busy crowd by the lakeshore. Wait, the person on the hot search over a month ago. Wasn't that me? Since when did this involve COS7GA? I spoke up and asked, are you talking about that internet celebrity? COS7GA is the same Xiao-Qi from the Shen Fashion Week? Exactly, he used to be very low-key. But just 2 weeks ago, he admitted online that he is indeed Xiao-Qi and has been working with several big brands lately. Let me tell you, no wonder the brands look like they're watching a comedy whenever he's mentioned. Their expressions are just priceless. His work is a mess, yet he charges a sky-high price. No wonder they're laughing bitterly. The staff member was mid-sentence when she suddenly seemed to notice something, staring at me for several seconds. Her eyes slowly widened. Hey, handsome, I think your looks are top-notch. Are you interested in doing a magazine shoot? I shook my head slightly. I never had any intention of entering the entertainment industry. So even though I have Jiang Wang's business card and set up a new phone number, I've never actually reached out to him. Because compared to living under the constant scrutiny of the spotlight, I prefer working for hire when I'm out of cash and disappearing to enjoy absolute freedom when I have money. I don't want to join showbiz, but that doesn't mean others are allowed to borrow my name to harvest fame out there. If I didn't know about this, it would be fine. But now that I do, I definitely have to take the time to settle this once and for all. That staff member gazed at my perfectly handsome face and couldn't stop sighing, even going so far as to claim outright that compared to that CA7GA fellow, I'm much better suited for this profession. But I just offered a casual smile and led the troubled Fu Shijin and the others swiftly away from there. Shijin complained as he walked, glancing back. What a waste! The lake photo shoot I spent a whole week preparing for. It's all gone down the drain. At that moment, I suddenly suggested, how about I just Photoshop the photos? My skills are actually pretty good. I'll just edit a lake in behind you guys. Though Fu Shijin hesitated a bit, the only option now was to head back to camp for a feast and wait until later to do a night shoot. While, on the botanical garden lawn, colorful star lights had been strung up, and the scene was incredibly lively. I sat at the dining table, snacking on fruit while scrolling through my phone, and only then did I discover that fake guy had been using my photos to impersonate me, to swindle money for the past half-month. So I pulled my laptop out of the case, getting ready to sort through the 500-plus photos taken this afternoon to begin the selection process. Not only did every single one need editing, but this massive workload was enough to give anyone goosebumps. I casually sent a few portrait shots, which were meticulously edited into the group chat. Unbelievably, they were so good that Mu Ji literally shouted in shock right there. He didn't just confess his love in the group, but even offered to pay 30 yuan per photo to hire me as his long-term editor. I looked at my phone and chuckled. Sure, that works out great. More skills mean I won't go hungry. This long-term gig just came knocking on its own. Right after that, Fu Shijin brought over a plate of fragrant grilled beef fat. That mouth-watering aroma was honestly better than any BBQ joint out there. I kept praising his skills while picking up my phone to call Mugi, urging them to hurry back and eat. Unexpectedly, from the other end, came the sounds of Mugi's excitement, his voice sounding utterly thrilled. I casually asked, what are you guys up to? You won't believe who Mu Xuan and I just bumped into. Hang on, I'll take a photo for you. Before I could even react, he hung up and charged into the crowd, heading toward the RV party over there, and snapping away with his camera. A second later, on my laptop screen, a few photos sent via WeChat suddenly appeared. The moment I saw the content of those photos, my gaze instantly turned sharp. I stared at the pictures on the screen, eyebrows knitting together. I didn't expect to run into them here too. In the photos, Shen Qingxiu was holding a guitar, Young Weiwei was on the drums, and even Liu Ruyan and Wen Wan were there. The whole group was having a massive outdoor party together. Yet Shen Jiyi looked completely out of place among them, sitting alone in a corner, focused on an English book. Because their looks were so striking, they didn't just attract a crowd of tourists, but the atmosphere became incredibly loud and vibrant.
I casually set my phone down, my fingers flying across the keys so fast they left after images. I finished editing Muji's photos in a flash, and even the mouse moved so quickly it was a blur. Then I stood up to help out at the grill, only to find that my help just made things more chaotic. I cleared my throat awkwardly, trying to save some face. I thought I could learn a thing or two. Fu Shijin raised an eyebrow. Clearly, you haven't learned a thing. Go over there and just wait to eat. I had no choice but to give up helplessly, sitting back down and opening the group chat, only to find it had absolutely exploded. Mugi was spamming "You're my god," and was practically ready to lick the screen in awe, especially the shots of Shen Qingshu, which ID edited to look breathtakingly beautiful. Mugi swore he'd be knocking down my door. Not only that, but he decided to promote me heavily when school starts, certain that he helped me make a fortune this time. Holding a golden sizzling beef fat skewer, I could only helplessly text back in the group, "I've finished editing your photos. Stop staring and come back here to eat." While I was in the zone with the editing, didn't forget to shower Fu Shijin and Qin Feng, who were nearby, with a flurry of non-stop compliments. Fu Shijin casually took off his disposable gloves and shoved a photo of a boy right in front of my face. "Then take a look and tell me, is this person good or bad?" I stared at the photo and suddenly lost my voice, my eyes darting around aimlessly. Why aren't Muji and the others back yet? Let me go look for them." Exposed too quickly, I had to tuck tail and run for it. Seeing my panic retreat, Fu Shijin and Qin Feng couldn't help but laugh out loud, not only amused by my humorous bragging, but also secretly envying my unrestrained freedom. Wealthy heirs like them are destined to become tools for family political marriages, so even if I have to work hard for hire later, at least I get to live an independent life, staying by the side of the one I love forever. In a flash, I found Muji and his brother nearby. Hearing that Shen Qingshu had just been rocking the dance floor, a slight smile touched the corner of my lips. Instead of wanting to avoid them, I actually felt curious. Now that we're full, why don't we go over and join the fun? I put my arms around my brother's shoulders, and the three of us walked back side by side. As the night party was only just getting started, I had just finished cleaning up the mess and was putting on my camera to change locations when Mu Xuan suddenly approached, face flushed. "Xiao Si, take more photos of Liu Ruyan for me later, okay? I'll pay you." I shot him a glance, my tone full of teasing. "So you're into this kind of gentle goddess?" He suddenly choked on his own spit, hastily clarifying, "It's just pure admiration." But I dragged out my words on purpose. "Got it. I totally understand just admiration, right? It's only natural, after all." I laughed loudly and dashed off. But surprisingly, Fu Shijin suddenly looked troubled, since after all, Shen Qingshu and the others were far too famous at school, and the boys in the campus beauties support group were notoriously fanatical, practically obsessive. If they were caught snooping and it got posted on the school forum, the consequences would be too dire to imagine. So to avoid trouble, the group decided to turn back and go straight to Yuejiao Lake. Unbelievably, their luck was off the charts, as the cordon around the lakeshore had just been removed. I quickly coordinated with Uncle Zhang, the Fu family driver, to help with the lighting. The shutter in my hand clicked non-stop, and in just one short hour, the final photos left Fu Shijin completely stunned. He gripped my arm tight, eyes shining with pure admiration. "Xiao Si, from now on, am coming to you for all my photo edits. Money is no object." I let out a soft laugh, recalculating the service fees in my head. This side gig was bound to be pure profit. Just as they were heading back, laughing and joking, they spotted Shen Qingshu's group's outdoor party from afar, beside the parked R verses. The troubles they'd worried about didn't exist at all, because the scene had long been surrounded by layers of people, crowded like a festival. In a situation like this, even if the campus beauty support group was right there, there was no way they'd notice any of them. Mu Xuan immediately felt his interest piqued. "Let's go over and take a look." He didn't forget our earlier deal while speaking. "Xiao Si, since it's such a rare chance, snap a few more photos of Liu Ruyan for me." I zipped open my backpack, while adjusting the camera focus, and casually said, "Why bother squeezing in there? Let's just take group photos from right here." Mu Xuan was completely dazed on the spot. "We can take group photos from this far away?" I smirked, pointing toward the distant crowd. "As long as we find a good angle, I'll zoom in and edit the two of you together later. When it's printed, it'll look just like a real group photo." Right after that, even someone as usually composed as Mu Ji couldn't sit still. "Xiao Si, I want a group photo with Shen Qingshu too." I flashed a decisive OK sign. The lens instantly locked onto the distant target, followed by a sharp click of the shutter. I quickly transferred the photos to my phone, leading the group toward the noisy throng. Before we even got close, deafeningly loud music blasted straight into our ears. Mu Shen desperately jumped up and down from the outer edge, but sadly couldn't see a single thing inside. Using my height advantage, I stepped onto a bluestone slab, looking down and taking in everything. Just then, Fu Shijin brought up the old topic again, asking if I'd finally added Shen Qingxue on WeChat. I just shook my head in silence, causing him to let out a heavy sigh, even advising me to aim for a job at the Shen Corporation. But I just offered a faint, calm smile. Who can say what the future holds? All I am really thinking about right now is making money. So I raised my camera again, adjusted the focus, aimed it straight at Liu Ruyan's gentle face, and snapped over a dozen candid shots. In my eyes right now, these were all just glowing red banknotes. Never in a million years did I expect that Liu Ruyan, sipping milk tea on a high chair, suddenly look up. Her gaze landed right in my camera lens. Not only was I not panicked at all, but on the contrary, I saw it as a perfect opportunity. So I hit the shutter button instantly, freezing the moment where her eyes shone like stars, as she looked up with that mesmerizing, focused gaze. At this moment, Liu Ruyan's heart fluttered slightly, and she leaned in closer to Shen Jiyi. Her voice carried a hint of excitement and joy she hadn't even realized herself, praising how refined and well-mannered this boy seemed, adding that his looks were incredibly handsome and charming. She even mused that with someone like him, she was starting to feel like she wanted to get to know him. But Shen Jiyi didn't even bother to look up, tossing out a cold, icy remark. He's not in the same league as us, since there isn't a single designer brand on him. His background is probably just average. Liu Ruyan fell into total silence. In this high society world that worships money, the wealth gap turns out to be crueler than fate itself. No matter how handsome he is, if his background is just ordinary, then in the eyes of those high-born young ladies, he's just a passerby who will definitely amount to nothing. But I never actually cared about those judgments, because right now the only thing I see is money. The moment Liu Ruyan moved, I decisively put my camera away. After all, editing photos for money is much more practical than watching the drama. Then I declined my friend's invitation to stay, and returned alone to the quiet little alley where I rent my place. Then I dived straight in front of the computer screen, selecting and editing photos. The process of sending photos went incredibly smoothly. As it turned out, just as I sent them, Mu Chuan's transfer arrived in the blink of an eye, an easy 1,100 yuan in my pocket. Not only that, even Fu Shijin reached out to me on his own, wanting to hire me for all this future photo editing, just to help me save up a bit for tuition before school starts. So I casually threw out a price list, split into internal and external rates, getting ready to make a fortune in this elite circle. After everything was settled, I called my father, who had been missing for 5 years. Faced with his ice-cold tone, not only was I not afraid, but I even joked about whether I was his real son. In response, Dad dropped a line that left me speechless, and even threatened to hang up. This time, I quickly dropped my reckless attitude and started aggrievedly reporting today's schedule. Even though I lost the right to spend lavishly for my freedom, this feeling of earning money with my own 2 hands is honestly insanely satisfying. Even though Shizhi Chang is still as sharp-tongued as ever, at this moment I understand better than anyone that even after leaving the shelter of a wealthy family, I am still loved. A top-tier player who dares to set his own rules. Back then I made a bold declaration that I wouldn't spend a single cent of the family's money. Yet here I am, shamelessly begging my dad for help, facing my father's mockery and sarcasm. I didn't back down at all. Instead, I argued back boldly. You didn't even bother to stop me back then. You know how I speak without thinking sometimes, making Dad so angry he hung up immediately. I casually called him back again, my expression suddenly turning serious. Dad, there's a streamer impersonating me to get outside ads. Help me deal with him. Thanks. Love you, Dad. Who knew that once Dad opened the photo, seeing my heavy makeup look at Fashion Week, he was stunned, completely blindsided. I just returned to the country and already dared to cause trouble on Shen family turf. If Shen Jiyi had recognized me on the spot, the consequences would be unimaginable. However, despite his complaining, Dad's actions were lightning fast, directly mobilizing a top-tier legal team. Right after that, he leisurely called back, "A trivial matter like this? Couldn't you have handled it yourself? Why come to me suddenly? Something's off about you. Did you cause some huge mess out there?" I lay on the bed, tone full of obviousness. "With you here, Dad, why should I have to get my own hands dirty? It's not like I'm an unloved child." Those words immediately made Dad's heart feel incredibly warm. He softened his voice. "Your mom's filming wraps up in 3 days. Come home then for a family meal." Early the next morning, under the overwhelming legal assault from the Shi family, 7-Second Fish posted a notice at dawn, asserting he wasn't the guy from the Shen family's Fashion Week.
even blaming the netizens, saying they were the ones spreading rumors, and that he never claimed to have walked the runway. The live stream where he admitted to being Xiao Si had no screen recordings, so for his explanation. Indeed, no one could provide evidence to refute it. As for 7-Second Fish's ad contracts, he used his real name to sign them, so while there was an element of deception, it didn't count as a breach according to the contracts. The brands that signed him could only swallow the bitterness, wasting all that money, just to hire some bottom-tier streamer. I just didn't like others, using my name to do shady things, but I had no intention of driving him into a corner. After 7-Second Fish posted the correction, I stopped worrying about it. After checking the hot search, I tossed my phone aside. Woke up, got cleaned up, and skateboarded to work. School's starting soon. I plan to work through this week. I'll stop working at the amusement park next week and focus on delivery jobs while waiting for the first day of school. I thought to myself that it's been a long time since I've been in school, so I was feeling a little bit excited. I worked for 2 days and then took a day off. On the day the great beauty Zhao Lirong finished her filming, I went to the airport to pick up my mom. Zhao Lirong returned very quietly, wearing a hat and mask to hide her face, bringing no assistants or managers, and without announcing her schedule on Weibo, so naturally, no fans were there to greet her. Picking up Zhao Lirong went very smoothly. I spotted her in the vast sea of people and ran quickly to fall into her warm embrace. Sadly, her precious son had grown too tall. No matter how much I tried to snuggle into her, I didn't fit like I did when I was little. It actually looked a bit funny instead. Zhao Lirong stumbled as I lunged at her, but looking at my delicate and handsome face, she felt incredibly proud. Smiling as she stroked my head, Okay. Xiao Bao, I can't stand steady. I missed you so much. I've always believed that love should be voiced loudly, so I wasn't shy even in public. Since I'm not in the entertainment industry, others who saw this show of affection would just comment on how close the mother and son are. How could Zhao Lirong not miss me? Tears welled in her eyes. I miss you so much too. Now that you're back for school, don't go far away again. Yes, I know, Mom. I'll attend high school at Jingyuan, and I plan to go to university domestically too, so it's easy for me to visit you on set, and easy for you to come find me to hang out. Then you must remember to keep your promise. Definitely. I spoke as I left Zhao Lirong's embrace, then turned to take Mom's hand, along with Si Chujiai. Si Jichang was standing in a secluded corner, constantly looking around. He must have been incredibly anxious inside. Zhao Lirong's film was shot in a closed set, requiring absolute confidentiality, so he hadn't seen his wife for months. Shi Jichang is the chairman of an entertainment company. His face is very easily recognized in public, so picking up his wife had to be all sneaky, like he was committing a robbery. Otherwise, if the news of Zhao Lirong returning to Jiangcheng leaked, they could forget about having a peaceful meal today. I led Zhao Lirong over to Ji Jichang, discreetly making way while taking Ji Chujia's hand. I thought to myself, Mom and Dad are the true love. Children are just accidental incidents. Best if the two of us incidents don't stay here, to play games for attention right in front of them. Ji Jichang put his arm around Zhao Lirong's waist. The two, separated for so long, were like newlyweds, whispering to each other intimately. Needless to say, they were incredibly affectionate. Once we got her, the four of us headed toward the parking lot. Shi Chujie felt like she was an adult now and didn't want to be led by the hand by her brother anymore, constantly trying to pull her hand away. Instead, I held on to her even tighter, teasing her with a sad face. Jai Bao, when I didn't want you following me, you were stuck to me like glue. Now it's only been 5 years since I was home, and you're already acting so distant. My heart is about to break. Shi Chujie looked a bit flustered. I didn't mean to, brother. I'm sorry. Please don't be sad, okay? Jai Bao, let me hold your hand. 12-year-old girl was no longer as mischievous as when she was 7 or 8. I found her reactions to be incredibly adorable. I beamed a bright smile, reaching out to gently pinch Zi Chujie's rosy cheek. Jai Bao is the best. Zi Chujie bowed her head shyly, thinking to herself how nice it was to have her brother back, knowing that if she got bullied at school, she'd have someone to back her up. The four of us got into the car. The driver headed toward the Century Jindu, which is a hotel owned by Zi Jichang. Since both Zi Jichang and Zhao Lirong are public figures, they naturally chose their own property for the family meal, comfort and privacy. We arrived at the hotel and went straight to a private room where the food had just been served, so we could start eating as soon as we sat down. The door closed. With no outsiders present, Zhao Lirong took off her mask and hat, revealing a face, exquisite and almost entirely untouched by time. I sat to my mother's right, resting my chin on my hand, admiring my mother's top-tier beauty, wondering if she had found some elixir of youth, as she seemed to get even more beautiful over time. I was lucky to inherit more of my mother's looks,
Because if I look like Dad, my looks would probably have faded. You think looking like me is faded? Shi Chang seemed to read my thoughts, glaring at me and silently cursing under his breath. But in front of Zhao Lirong, he still maintained his dignified elder persona, not deigning to engage in petty squabbles with me. Zhao Lirong looked around at all of us, unable to keep from laughing, seeing that everyone still treated each other the same as years ago, as if we had never been apart. Xiao Bao, your mouth is certainly sweet. As honey. Come on, let's eat. I giggled, nodding in agreement. Let's eat, let's eat. I picked up my chopsticks, waiting for my parents to start first, before I began picking up food and feasting heartily. We all talked while we ate, catching up with one another, and time quietly slipped by before we knew it. Once the meal was finished, Shi Chang put down his chopsticks and glanced at me, a mischievous smile flickering in his eyes. He handed Shi Chujiai over to me and quickly whisked Zhao Lirong away, clearly planning to go off and enjoy their own private time, leaving only me and Shi Chujiai staring at each other in confusion. After a moment, I asked, Xiai Bao, do you want to go to the amusement park? Since I already took the day off anyway, I'll take my sister out for the afternoon. I could take my sister out for the whole afternoon. Shi Chujiai shook her head, saying she was bored of the amusement park. Brother, can we go to an arcade instead? To play basketball, the dance machine, and the crane games. Of course we can. I spoke while picking up my phone, searching for a moment to see where the biggest arcade in Jiangcheng was. The biggest arcade in the commercial district was the Qixing Games Center, and it wasn't very far from the Century Jindu. But the midday sun was very harsh, and I was worried about my sister getting heat stroke. So I used an app to call a taxi. Putting my phone away, I reached out my hand. Let's go. Shi Chujiai looked at the fair hand extended toward her, a bit shyly. Brother, I'm a big girl now. I can't keep holding a boy's hand all the time. I looked at her meaningfully. Fine then. Then the big girl needs to stay close to me. Shi Chujiai and I headed out one after the other, and just as we stepped out of the room, a waiter smiled at me. Mr. Shi, are you preparing to leave? Please come this way to settle the bill. What is going on here? I managed a wry smile, and took out my phone to call Shi Chang. But after only 2 rings, he hung up on me. I silently groaned inside. Is this something a real father would do? Earning tens of millions of yuan a month, yet leaving a part-time worker like me to pay for the meal. I tentatively asked, can I put it on account? The diligent waiter shook his head. Chairman Shi gave specific orders. No accounts, you must pay. I gritted my teeth as I pulled out my bank card, feeling such heartbreak I could barely breathe, asking through clenched teeth, where do I pay? The staff, unaware of the underlying drama, shrank back slightly. At the front desk, sir. Please follow me, Mr. Shi. I looked at the notification on my phone. 7,300 yuan had just been swiped. As I slowly put my hand to my chest, Jiai Bao. My heart hurt so much. All the Xie family employees present knew I was the wealthy young master, so they found the exaggerated expression quite amusing, thinking I had none of the typical young master's poise. Only Shi Chujiai knew her brother was genuinely hurting, thinking to herself that the family only provided 10,000 yuan for yearly living expenses, and that amount was barely enough for survival. Shi Chujiai awkwardly pulled out her phone. Brother, I still have a little pocket money. Should I transfer it all to you? Since I live and eat at home anyway, I don't really have anything to spend it on. I looked at Shi Chujiai's adorable face and suddenly felt much better. I put my bank card and the receipt in my wallet and said, I'm not so pathetic that I have to spend your money. Let's go, Jiai Bao. I tucked my left hand in my pocket and put my right arm around Shi Chujiai's shoulder as we walked out. Shi Chujiai quietly bowed her head and tapped on her phone, transferring all the pocket money on her phone to me. I thought to myself, the Shi family doesn't encourage luxury and indulgence, so Shi Chujiai's accumulated pocket money probably only amounted to a few thousand yuan. After making the choice for one's own life, those who choose self-reliance are truly dirt poor. I didn't accept the money and sent it back to her. If you transfer any more money to me, I won't take you out to play anymore. I'll take you straight back home. It had been a long time since Shi Chujiai got to hang out with her brother, so my threat was very effective. She quickly put her phone away. Fine then, brother. Just remember to tell me when you run out of money, and I'll transfer some to you. I smiled, my voice tender. All right. Definitely ask you when I'm broke. Jiai Bao knows how to take care of her brother. It's worth all my love for you. Shi Chujiai awkwardly scratched her head. Shi Chujiai and I walked to the front of the Century Jindu lobby, right by the entrance steps, and the car I'd ordered through the app arrived just in time. We both got in, arrived in about 10 minutes, got out and entered the Qixing Game Center. I went to the cashier and got a membership card. After topping it up with 1,000 yuan, I exchanged it for 500 game tokens, then slipped the membership card into Shi Chujai's pocket. Shi Chujai stood there stunned. She couldn't help but exclaim, "Brother, this is 1,000 yuan. You still have to work part-time every day. You don't need to spend this much. Buying 200 tokens would have been enough to play. Should we return the card? You just swiped over 7,000 yuan earlier, and now another 1,000. If you spend like this, what will you do once school starts?" I put my right hand on Shi Chujai's shoulder, curling my lips into a smile. Spending money on Jai Bao is nothing, and as for the money, don't worry about it.
Dad asked me to do a few things lately. He paid me this much,
I said as I spread out my 5 fingers. Shi Chujai asked in surprise, "Grandpa, didn't you say we weren't allowed to take family money?" "It's not about being allowed. This is payment for work. It's perfectly reasonable. Grandpa never said I couldn't earn money working for the family." Shi Chujai thought for a moment. "Brother, can I do that too in the future?" Shook my head, no. Shi Chujai didn't understand. "Why, brother? Why not?" I laughed and said, "Because I'll take care of everything for you." Shi Chujai was still young after all, so she didn't think too much about the future. I saw that once she knew her brother had money, she grabbed the tokens and happily started playing. Since it was summer vacation, the arcade was crowded with kids. I wasn't interested in any of the games myself, so I just quietly followed her around, keeping my eyes on my sister at all times, to prevent any accidents from happening. After all, she has such delicate skin, and was wearing expensive designer clothes from head to toe, looking exactly like a wealthy little princess. The crowd here was diverse and messy, so I remained quietly vigilant, just in case someone got any bad ideas. It'd be there to protect her. I followed her like that, not even bothering to take out my phone, focused like a dedicated bodyguard. Jie Chujie played alone for a while, but every time she turned around, she saw my tall, steady figure standing there.
"Brother, why don't you play with me? It's not that much fun playing alone."
I glanced at the crane machine in front of us, thinking to myself, doesn't this thing only take one person to operate? Well, then we can take turns playing. I nodded in agreement. Seeing that I had agreed, Shi Chujie quickly made room. "Brother, can you get this one for me?" What she pointed at was a character figurine, probably from some game or anime. Currently, I don't really know much about what domestic kids are into these days, so I couldn't name it, and simply nodded my head in agreement. I put 3 tokens into the machine, manipulated the crane, moving it directly over the figurine she liked. Once it was lined up, I pressed the button. The crane descended, grabbing the target perfectly before lifting it to the top. But in those few tiny fractions of a millimeter of movement, the crane suddenly snapped open, and the figurine fell back down. I silently mocked it in my heart. This machine might as well just go rob someone, and yet it pretends to give you a chance to control the crane. Shi Chujai's heart, which had been tight with anticipation, fell right along with the figurine. She exclaimed with regret, "Brother, that was so close. Let me try." I put in another 3 tokens and stepped aside for her to take over. The result was exactly as expected. The crane unexpectedly opened as soon as it lifted, dropping the figurine it had just caught. Brother, what a shame. It was almost at the drop slot. I stared at the machine, thinking for a moment, then said, "Jai Bao, let me play a few more rounds to get a feel for it." Okay. Shi Chujie leaned to the side, pressing her face against the glass to watch. First, I played 2 experimental rounds to accurately gauge the crane's grip strength. On the 3rd round, I quickly shook the joystick to make the crane swing wildly, then timed it perfectly and pressed the button decisively. The crane flew out at an angle, snatching up the figurine Shi Chujie wanted and pulling it up to the highest point. Then with a click, the figurine dropped straight into the delivery slot. "Ah, brother, you're amazing." Shi Chujie bent down excitedly, pulled the figurine out of the slot, and stood up with it in her hands. "Brother, you even got Sasuke's wife out. It's Sakura." Thinking I might not know her, she pointed back inside the machine, to the young girl with pink hair. I nodded, executing the token dropping, joystick shifting, and button pressing with total mastery. Haruna Sakura was successfully retrieved. Then she excitedly pulled me to another spot. "I want this Lotso bear too." After getting Lotso, I got a Sasuke plushie, then moved from bears to a giant dinosaur, eventually filling 3 large bags. The surrounding staff looked at me with quite peculiar expressions. I didn't care about those looks at all. I just thought carrying 3 giant bags of plushies was a hassle. Seeing Shi Chujie ready to play more, I quickly stopped her. "Jai Bao, you've just been watching me play. Let's go play something else." Throughout the entire afternoon, the 2 of us tried almost every machine in the arcade, until Shi Chujie was completely worn out. I returned the leftover tokens, then went back to collect the 3 massive bags, heavily loaded with stuffed toys. I pulled her close, and without a word hung one bag in front and one bag on her back. These bags are so heavy. Brother, I can't carry them. Just wear them for a little bit. Once we're out of the mall, we'll sell the ones you don't like.
So you won't have to carry them anymore. I casually threw the giant teddy bear over my shoulder and led her out by the hand. The sight of the two of us in the crowd was truly conspicuous. By the time we stepped out of the mall, it was completely dark. I opened one of the bags, spreading it on the ground as a makeshift stall, and lined up the plushies she didn't want in a neat row. After setting up, I called the family driver, telling him to come pick her up immediately. After hearing the call, Ji Chujiai tugged at my hand. Brother, aren't you coming home to stay with me? I'm not going back, I have to work tomorrow. And it's really too far from the house. Okay, Ji Chujiai said, looking a bit reluctant. But you also know how hard I work at my part-time job to pay for school. And she didn't bother me any further. The family driver was nearby, so he arrived very quickly. I saw her off to the car, making sure she was settled, and only then did I turn back. Squatting behind my makeshift stall to start hawking my wares. Nighttime Jiang Chang had shed the sweltering heat of the day, and even more people were out with their children. I looked at the pile of plushies on the ground, thinking that since they were all authentic, priced lower than the market value, they would surely sell easily. Except for a few ugly ones that no one looked at. The rest of the plushies, under my clever and persuasive sales pitch, were sold out in no time, as expected. I tucked the 400 yuan I just earned into my pocket, thought for a moment, then headed back to the amusement park for another batch to sell. The park manager looked on, his heart bleeding, but he still had to keep a smile on his face to welcome me. I didn't push things too far, though, and after I'd earned back the money I spent on the card, I immediately packed up my stall. Looking at the few unsold plushies, I picked a few lucky people at random, gave them away, mostly just to end a trip with zero expenses. And then the next day arrived. Hello, Mr. Xia, I'm Xiao Si, the delivery guy. Here is your food, sir. If you're happy with my service, could you please give me a 5-star rating? I beamed a bright smile, handing over the bag of food with both hands. That middle-aged man named Xia snatched the bag away, not even bothering to look up, not even giving me a single glance. With a loud slam, he shut the door. A gust of cold air hit my face as the door slammed shut. I took a deep breath and then another, trying to calm my emotions before turning to head downstairs. I comforted myself in my heart, thinking that I was an excellent delivery rider, who would absolutely never get angry with any customer, yeah, right? Just 2 floors down, I threw a flurry of Wing Chun punches into the air to vent the boiling rage in my chest. Then I dashed downstairs, getting ready for my next delivery. Delivering to this apartment complex really frustrated me. They had an elevator but wouldn't let delivery riders use it, forcing me to take the emergency stairs. I had to trudge up 21 floors, exhausted by the time I reached the top, and yet the customer didn't even show me a decent face. I cursed under my breath that in this world, everyone is just a working stiff. What a total jerk. I even swore to myself that if I ever took an order from this place again, I would just bash my own head in. I ran frantically down to the first floor, sprinting like a 100-meter dash toward the complex gate. That's right, this Xuanguang apartment complex didn't even let delivery bikes inside. What a hellhole, and its area was incredibly vast. After 5 minutes of this grueling run, I had been cursing in my head for exactly 5 minutes. When I reached the main gate, I still had to force a smile to greet the security guard. Stepping out of the main gate, I checked the delivery box first, seeing that the food inside hadn't spilled or been damaged. Only then could I breathe a sigh of relief. After finishing this run, it was already 2 p.m. My stomach was sticking to my back from hunger. I tugged at my sweat-soaked delivery uniform, deciding to take the afternoon off and stop riding. Actually, my current funds were enough to get by. Going out to deliver like this was purely because I was too bored at home. I parked my bike by the roadside, looked around, and found a noodle shop to recharge. It's not that I couldn't afford a fancy restaurant, it's just that I was covered in sweat, and I didn't want to go to those places and become the center of attention, only to be looked down upon. I went to a fairly famous place on Shisong Road called Fang Fang Stir-Fried Noodles. It wasn't peak dining hours, so most people eating in the shop were fellow delivery riders. I naturally joined them, and soon I was chatting lively with everyone. Are you talking about the Xuanguang complex? That place. We blacklisted that place long ago, handsome. Aren't you in the delivery group yet? Once you join the group, you'll know which locations to avoid taking orders from. Otherwise, taking a cheap order just to get upset, it's really not worth it at all. Hearing what they said, I could only smile helplessly. I'm just doing some part-time work for living expenses, so I haven't joined any groups yet, Sister Liu. Why don't you add me to the group? Sure, just scan my code. Sister Liu opened her QR code. I scanned it and joined the group. Since people weren't very busy around this time, quite a few were chatting and complaining in the group. I discovered that,
The scandals in this social work group were even more numerous than in school groups. In just 10 minutes, I overheard 8 major stories. My previous feelings of frustration suddenly began to improve.
I thought to myself that this group was actually great. Just reading a bit instantly put me in a better mood. Ha ha ha, of course. Everyone is running around everywhere every day, so we've seen it all and broadened our horizons. There's no drama we haven't experienced. Stay in this group for a few days, and you'll become much more open-minded. Of course, just keep the gossip in the group. Don't spread it around outside. Sister Lou, I get it. I get it. Just then, the bowl of noodles I ordered was served. I tucked my phone into my pocket and focused on eating, leisurely slurping my noodles. It took about 15 minutes to finish the battle. I paid the bill and went outside, planning to stop by a mall to buy a new outfit so I could change out of these sticky, sweat-drenched clothes. But I had only walked a few steps when the phone in my pocket rang. Turns out I forgot to clock out earlier, so the system automatically assigned me a new order. I glanced at the price, nearly 200 yuan, and couldn't help but feel it was a bit strange. How could such a lucrative order have no takers? Clearly, if something is abnormal, there must be a reason. I quickly sent a message to the delivery group. Let me ask you guys something, colleagues. Is there something fishy about this order? Forget about it, that order. Brother, you've hit the jackpot. Haha. Let me explain. This complex is for the wealthy. It's massive and they don't let delivery bikes in. You guessed it. Why won't they let us in? Because there was a kidnapping involving a motorcycle about 3 or 4 years ago. It caused quite a stir back then. Good luck, young man. Life isn't easy. I gave a helpless sigh, put away my phone, and headed to the Shiji Jindu Hotel to pick up the order. I knew in my heart that this place originally had its own internal delivery staff, but since it appeared on the public delivery platform today, they must be incredibly busy. When I walked into the kitchen of Shiji Jindu, the head chef, Qian Kun, stared at my delivery uniform for a long time, his eyes practically bulging out. Young master, are you out here experiencing life or something? I coughed awkwardly, thinking, could it be that I'm just trying to make a living? Qian Kun looked dazed and didn't dare ask more, only asking, young master, do you have a driver's license? This order has quite a few items. You might need to drive our vehicle to deliver it. Let me see how many items there are first. I calculated in my head. Since you have to be 18 to get a license here, the license I have is from abroad, and it's completely unusable back home. Qian Kun raised his hand, pointing to a massive thermal box on the side table. Young master, that little electric bike definitely won't be able to carry this. I looked where he was pointing. It was true. An electric bike could never haul something that size. I couldn't help but ask out of curiosity, what's the whole shop so busy with today? It's the grand birthday of Old Master Li in Beifu City. Prominent families from all over will be attending. President Xi specifically ordered that there be no mistakes, so everyone is busy preparing the food. This order was placed by one of our black card VIP customers, so we had to squeeze in time to make it. Otherwise, we wouldn't normally take it. I nodded after hearing that. I see, wait for me for a few minutes. I turned and dashed outside, circling the nearby area once. Sure enough, I found a colleague with a driver's license. That was Zhao Ji, a student working part-time. He was still dazed when I pulled him into the shop. Hey kid, are you sure you'll give me half the money? Of course. If you don't believe me, I can record it as proof. No need for that, no need. Entering the Shiji Jindu kitchen, I took the car keys, changed into the shop's internal staff uniform, and headed toward the Xiangjiang Villa area with Zhao Jie. At the villa gate, a security guard named Zhao stepped up to stop us. I rummaged through my card holder for a bit, then pulled out a residential entry card and handed it over. I noticed the guard looking at me with a suspicious expression, looking at my clothes and then at the card in his hand. Although he didn't say out loud, this card. You didn't just pick it up somewhere, did you? It was clear his heart was full of doubt. But truly, one shouldn't judge a book by its cover. He was probably afraid too. What if I was some rich kid out experiencing life? If he wrongly blocked me and got reported, losing his job would be a huge mess. After all, the salary in this high-end area was quite high. He couldn't bear to lose this job. Please, Mr. She, here is your card. Please go right in. I calmly drove into the villa area without any hindrance. Zhao Jie, sitting beside me, was still in shock. Hey kid, do you live in this neighborhood? I put the card away, then answered nonchalantly. I don't live here. Live near my school. Then what about this card? Just a coincidence. I didn't pick it up off the street. Zhao Jie was speechless at my answer, only able to silently give me a thumbs up in admiration. The Shangjiang Villa area was truly unbelievably massive. In front of each magnificent villa were rockeries and lakes, with gardens spanning dozens of acres behind them. In the most prime location in the city center, to own such a large piece of land proved that those living here were either tycoons or aristocrats.
Zhao Ji drove following the GPS instructions, looking at the clusters of buildings in various styles, unable to stop his amazed gasps. He even lamented that if he could live here, he'd probably wake up laughing in his sleep from joy. I realized Zhao Ji was sneaking glances at me, his gaze seemingly hiding shock and a bit of wariness. After driving for about 40 minutes, we finally reached our destination. I compared the house number on my phone, confirming that the information was completely accurate, before stepping out of the vehicle. Standing tall right before my eyes was a magnificent garden in the profound Suzhou architectural style. Perhaps because the owner trusted the neighborhood security team, the garden had no high walls for separation, but was only fenced by a modest layer of bamboo stalks. I reckon I could step over it with just a lift of my leg. The garden gate was also made of purple bamboo, a perfect blend of nostalgia and modern technology. Octagonal palace lanterns at the doors spun with the wind, creating incredibly clear and pleasant sounds. I looked up, realizing they weren't lanterns, but wind chimes shaped like lanterns. Zhao Ji stood beside me, his mouth agape in amazement, looking like he could fit a whole egg in his mouth. But when he turned, seeing my nonchalant expression, he quickly pushed his jaw back up. "Hey kid, aren't you even a little surprised by this beautiful garden?" "I am surprised," calmly replied. "It's called expression management. They say if you manage your facial expressions well, you can pose as a rich young master. I've been practicing this for a long time, planning to make a shocking debut when school starts, to intimidate everyone, so that no one will dare bully me anymore. My primary style is talking nonsense with an incredibly serious face, giving irrelevant answers to questions." Zhao Ji was speechless, only silently giving me a thumbs up. Though only 3 years apart, it was clear he couldn't keep up with my strange train of thought. Seeing that it fooled him, a mischievous smile played at the corners of my lips. I scanned the area around the gate and found the doorbell. I stepped forward and pressed the musical chime button. The melodious sounds of listening to the rain rang out, perfectly matching this elegant setting. I patiently waited for about 3 minutes. The intercom screen below the bell suddenly lit up. An elegant girl in a white shirt appeared right before my eyes. "Crybaby," I mouthed silently, my expression instantly changing to one of gentleness and surprise. "Shen Qingshu, so you live here?" Shen Qingshu nodded slightly, then asked casually, "Do you live in this area too?" I gave an enigmatic smile, neither denying nor confirming. Did I come here just to deliver food? Food from Shiji Jindu. Shen Qingshu paused for a moment and said, "Wait a bit, I'm coming out." The electronic screen went black. I took 2 steps back. Zhao Ji's eyes darted around, thinking for a while but asking nothing further. My knowing children of the wealthy had nothing to do with him anyway. He was just someone I happened to pull in for a driving favor, so it was best not to ask unnecessary questions. Shen Qingshu came out, pulling Liu Ruyan along. When Liu Ruyan saw the staff uniform on me, her eyes suddenly dimmed. This was already the 3rd time they'd met by chance in just half a month. She felt it was the arrangement of fate, but the gap in their family backgrounds was a vast chasm, incredibly difficult to cross. She didn't have the strength to fight her family yet. Shen Qingshu already knew I was there to deliver food, so her expression remained calm and natural. "You're still a minor, aren't you? How did you manage to get a part-time job at Shiji Jindu?" "I don't work for Shiji Jindu, and writing for Flash. The system just assigned this order to us." "I see, so where's the food? By the way, Xiao Si, if you need part-time jobs for living expenses, how do you have the heart to go play at Qingqing Ghost Alley? The costs there aren't low either. Since I had already quit that job anyway, there was no need to hide my identity further." I answered honestly. Back at the amusement park, I was just working part-time too, like a companion player for support, to enhance the customer experience. Actually, I'm quite brave, so I wasn't scared of those NPCs at all. Shen Qingshu's eyes suddenly lit up. She turned her head abruptly. "Then you must know why the flashlight I brought into the escape room was flickering automatically like that. Are you still thinking about that?" I reached up to scratch the back of my neck. "I do know, but that's a trade secret, and even though I've quit, I can't just reveal it casually." I paused for a moment and continued. "Just consider it the power of technology." Hearing the exact same answer as Liu Feng's, Shen Qingshu understood she wouldn't get anything more. She turned back and walked on calmly, passing straight through the main gate. Zhao Ji was trying to keep a dead serious face to avoid showing his ignorance and being laughed at. He suddenly realized the importance of facial expression management. Look at the guy beside me, so calm, as if he's weathered every storm in the world. Looking like this, who would know that I'm actually just a normal student, working hard part-time to make ends meet? In the villa's living room, a group of teenagers aged 14 to 20 was gathered. When Wen Wan saw Shen Qingshu personally carrying the box, she was so shocked she rushed over to help. "Good grief, Qingshu, are you possessed?" As soon as Wen Wan finished speaking, she saw me. "Xiaozi, you're so handsome, is that you?"
I raised my hand awkwardly to greet her. Hello, Wenwan. Shen Qingshu is actually just helping me carry it. Before I could even finish, Wenwan seemed to understand something, snatching the handle from Shen Qingshu's hand, eagerly lugging the thermal box straight toward the kitchen. Wenwan dashed ahead, while Zhao Ji trudged along behind her. Seeing someone else doing the work, Shen Qingshu felt quite relaxed, only rubbing her hands, which were a bit red from the weight. We have juice and coffee. Would you like something to drink? I was a bit flustered, looking up to adjust my clothes. No, it's fine. I'm just the one delivering the food. A delivery rider can drink juice too. Shen Qingshu acted as if she hadn't heard my refusal, going to the fridge and taking out juice, before pouring a glass for me. The whole crowd in the living room looked at each other in surprise. Suddenly, a boy in a pink t-shirt ran over. Sister Qingshu, let me pour some water for you. My eyes darted between the boy and Shen Qingshu, seemingly understanding something fishy was going on. I waved my hand in refusal while quickly slipping into the kitchen, not wanting any trouble while I was working. Wenwan and Zhao Ji set the thermal box down. Wenwan washed her hands and took a stack of plates from the cupboard. I walked over and squatted down, skillfully opening the thermal box and bringing out the dishes inside, one by one. Takeout from Shiji Jindu usually isn't fully stir-fried, as the chef calculates the transit time, so the food finishes cooking on the way. This way, the flavor of these dishes won't lose its excellence, even if they were prepared a while ago. I opened the packaging, plating each dish onto appropriate plates. Then I told Zhao Ji to carry the dishes to the table. There were many people in the living room. Zhao Ji was a bit hesitant to walk back and forth in front of them. Hey kid, how about I plate the food, and you bring it out to the table? You can't do this. These dishes need a specific presentation. Zhao Ji looked at the plated food, and they were indeed presented beautifully. No idea how it even plated them. Every single dish looked just as it would when served at the restaurant. Zhao Jia had no choice but to bite the bullet and carry the plates out. Fortunately, everyone was currently engrossed in their phones, playing a team competition game, so few had the time to notice their surroundings. Shen Qingshui only poured water for me out of politeness, and Du Zidong ran over offering to lend a hand. She immediately handed the items to Du Zidong, then walked back to the sofa to watch the match on her phone. Currently, everyone was playing the hottest game right now, Honor of Kings. 10 people per match, split into 2 sides to compete for the high ground. Because Shen Qingshui had just gone out to help carry the box, they had already started a new match. Seeing Shen Qingshu walk away, Du Zidong suddenly felt relieved. He had just gotten a good look at my face, a very striking physique, along with a handsome, dashing face, and Sister Qingshu had even personally poured water for me, which ignited a sense of threat in his heart. Luckily, Sister Qingshu wasn't the type of person to be easily swayed by appearances. Du Zidong quickly poured 2 glasses of juice and brought them into the kitchen. I paused what I was doing, washed my hands and dried them, beaming a bright smile as I reached out. Hey, handsome. Thanks so much. My voice was incredibly clear and warm. Du Zidong's mind suddenly went blank, immediately withdrawing his earlier scrutinizing gaze and stammering awkwardly. No need to be polite, Xiaoxi. Try this orange juice. The maid just squeezed it today. Even though the sense of fret remained, I called him handsome, so for someone with such a discerning eye, his attitude naturally had to be gentler. I reached out for the glass. It was indeed refreshing, and I downed it in one go, not leaving a single drop of juice behind. Seeing this, Du Zidong immediately ran out and brought the whole pitcher of juice inside. Wenwan watched, her mouth agape in shock. The little master of the Du family was normally the most arrogant, yet now he wasn't just personally serving drinks, but even going for a second serving. What kind of magic did I possess? Wenwan couldn't help but look at me a few more times. I finished the second glass of juice, and sensing her eyes on me, I looked back, my eyes showing full curiosity. Wenwan, is there something you need help with? Caught in the act of sneaking a look, Wenwan's mind raced at top speed, thinking impulsively. Do you play Honor of Kings? Everyone's forming teams for it, and my sister Ziyi is really amazing at it, ranked as a 70-star King of Glory. I shook my head and said it never played, but I can download it and give it a try. Are you inviting me to play a game with you? Wenwan had already steered the conversation toward games, so it would be a bit awkward to refuse. I could only nod. Then let me swap my electric bike and come back. I still need to go back and return it. Mainly because Zhao Ji was still here. If I didn't leave, then Zhao Ji wouldn't be able to leave either. I'm not the type to only think of myself, while ignoring others' struggles. I could tell. Since the moment he stepped into this house, Zhao Ji hadn't felt comfortable at all. All right, let me go tell them. After saying that, Wenwan hurried away, as if something were chasing her.
Zitang still hadn't left. Yu asked, Xiaoxi, do you want more to drink? I gave a faint smile. No thanks. My name is CAC, nice to meet you. I put the glass down and reached out my hand. Zitang quickly put down the bottle she was holding and took my hand. My name is Zitang. Nice to meet you too. The two shook hands and let go immediately. Zitang, go play with your friends. I'll just clean this up. Zitang took the fruit juice and walked out, putting it into the fridge. On the other side, Wan slipped over and sat down right next to Shen Jiyi, whispering, Sister Jiyi, emergency help needed. Shen Jiyi's eyes remained glued to the screen, her fingers skillfully controlling her character for the kill. What did you do now? I accidentally invited Xiaoxi to play with us just now, and he agreed. He said he'd be back after returning his gear. Could you tell everyone? Otherwise, when he comes later, it would be awkward if no one welcomes him. Shen Jiyi turned to look at Wan, her brows furrowing slightly, her gaze clearly showing disapproval. But we don't even know him. Why did you suddenly invite him? Well, I got caught staring at him, so I just blurted out we were playing games. Shen Jiyi fell silent, pondering, and after a long while she said in a low voice, Wait until they go out, then I'll tell everyone. Thank you, Sister Jiyi. Wan was moved to tears and went back to her seat to watch the match. I gathered up the disposable lunchboxes, clearing them all away, putting them into a plastic bag, then washed the used glasses and put them into the sterilizer. Let's go. Okay. I had just confirmed the delivery on the app and sent the promised money to Zhao Ji. Having received the money, Zhao Ji's spirits were now lifted, and a radiant smile spread across his face. As the two of them crossed the living room one by one, I greeted the owners of the villa. Shen Jiyi gave a slight indifferent nod. Shen Xingshu picked up the remote on the table and pressed a button. The villa gates opened automatically, and light from outside poured in through the main entrance. Zhao Ji hurried over, changed his shoes at the door, and went out. I was stunned for a moment, then quickly chased after him. The two left the villa and put the items in the trunk. After getting in, Zhao Ji drove me back. I opened my phone and went to the App Store to download Honor of Kings. Honor of Kings is a fair 5 versus 5 team competition mobile game. The main map is divided into 3 lanes, where everyone coordinates to defend towers, attack the enemy's defensive towers, and the goal is to destroy the enemy's base. It never played Honor of Kings before, but it played similar genres on PC. It took a minute to download and install the game. The updates finished, and I officially entered the gaming world. There's a tutorial for beginners. I initially planned to skip it, but saw that completing it gives free heroes. So my hand, which was about to skip, moved to the confirm button for the tutorial. Not because I didn't have money to buy heroes, but because free stuff is a much better deal. After finishing the tutorial, I received the new heroes Arthur and Shan Yu. Closing the tutorial gave me Daji and Angela, 4 heroes now sitting quietly in my collection. I didn't start a match right away. Instead, I clicked through all the buttons once, then checked the Arcana and equipment pages. After careful study, I realized buying heroes and grinding Arcana myself was a hassle, so I spent 200 yuan online to buy an account with all heroes unlocked, making the tutorial I just watched completely useless. Changed the linked phone number to mine, changed the password and game ID, set up a firewall before logging in, and wiped the entire friends list. After finishing that, I exited the game, went to Kuaishou to watch Honor of Kings live streams to learn how to use the skills. I watched streamers play 4 matches before exiting. Just as I was about to try my hand at it, Zhao Ji had already driven to the back kitchen of the Century Jindu Hotel. I had to stop, put my phone away, and said goodbye to Zhao Ji. I returned the car keys, changed back into my delivery uniform, and hopped on my small electric bike. I stopped by a mall to buy a new set of clothes to change into, and there went 500 yuan. Looking at today's earnings, only 310 yuan. This job really isn't worth it. One trip and I spent more than I made. I walked out of the mall, tossed the delivery uniform into the back box, put my helmet on properly, and rode my precious electric bike, heading straight for the Xiangjian Villa area. Nowadays, no one checks licenses for electric bikes, so I didn't care much for the rules. All along the way, while keeping it safe, I sped like the wind to the gates of Xiangjiang. The guard saw me return, and still had to check my gate pass briefly before letting me through. By the time I reached the Shen family villa, it was already 4 p.m. I parked neatly, took out my phone to check, and saw several missed calls from my dad. I called back, Dear Dad, why were you calling me? At 7:30 tonight, go to Century Jindu for a birthday party. You've been gone for 5 years. Hardly anyone in Zhangcheng remembers you now. I raised an eyebrow, my mind racing. Dad, for that party. Are you expecting me to pay for my own prep? On the other end, Xie Zhichang's laugh was a bit devious. My lip twitched slightly. I get it. I'll be there on time. I thought to myself, my dad is really the type who suffered once and now wants to tear away everyone else's umbrella. I just helped the family earn $500,000, and before the school term even started, he was finding every way to make me spend it all. If that's how it's going to be, don't blame me for showing off. With a smirk, I stuffed my phone in my pocket and reached out to ring the doorbell. The display screen lit up, revealing Shen Qingshu's face again. After seeing me, her gaze paused for a moment. Don't you have any guard up against strangers? I invited you to play and you actually showed up. I blinked, lowering my head slightly to maintain my innocent youth persona. Then, should I go back now? Shen Qingxue rolled her eyes. Come in. As soon as she finished speaking, the villa gates opened. I wheeled my small electric bike inside, parked it right at the entrance, and strode straight toward the main door. The villa's large main door was also open. I closed the door behind me, swapped into disposable slippers at the entrance, and walked to the living room, which was a bit less crowded now. Shenji's group of 5 was still waiting, plus 2 fairly handsome guys, and a young lady as delicate as cherry blossoms. I'd met that beautiful girl before, Lee something? I couldn't quite remember her name, but I'd seen her at a concert 3 years ago. My gaze brushed past her, then rested on Shen Jiyi for a moment, before quickly looking away. With a slight smirk, I began my self-introduction. Perhaps because I deliver food for a living, everyone had a biased view of me, never associating me with the powerful Z family of Jiang Cheng. The girl as delicate as cherry blossoms scrutinized me, then coldly looked away, uttering 3 short, emotionless words. Li Mu Han. The 2 guys looked at my cheap tracksuit, openly showing their contempt, their voices dripping with undisguised arrogance. Zhao Group and Beifu, Im Lin Lei. After the introductions, we were considered acquaintances. I was curious about a few people's actions, but remained calm on the outside as if nothing happened. My eyes scanned the room, and I found an empty spot to sit, my smile as bright as ever. I didn't care at all about the attitude of the third Li Miss and the Lin brothers. Wen Wan felt incredibly apologetic. She felt very awkward, despite warning them beforehand. But the others' attitudes were really something she couldn't control. She hurried to pour some tea for me, then spoke up to break the silence. Let's form teams and start playing. A few more matches, then we have to get ready to head to Century Jindu. Shen Ziyi gave a faint, indifferent hum, and following her lead, the atmosphere suddenly became lively. Lin Qian spoke in a whiny, spoiled voice. Sister Ziyi, I want to be on your team. Lin Lei looked at Li Mu Han. Sister Li, team up with me. While they were busy fighting over teams, I spaced out for a moment, my eyes landing on the giant poster right in front of me. I pursed my lips, trying to suppress a laugh. Is there any normal family that turns a photo of them at an escape room into a poster and hangs it right in the middle of the living room? Though the 1-to-1 scale photo was indeed beautiful, it was honestly cringeworthy, not matching Shenji's elegant and ethereal aura at all. Shen Qingshu saw me, staring at the poster, and asked proudly, "My sister's beautiful, right?" Cough, cough. I choked on my saliva and coughed repeatedly, hurriedly grabbing the glass on the table for a few gulps to clear my throat. Lin Tian heard Shen Qingshue's words and immediately glared at me with burning eyes, as if it'd take me down if I had even the slightest improper intention. I calmed down and set the glass down, ignoring Lin Tian's stare. As I pulled my phone out of my tracksuit pocket, I smiled faintly and said, "Everyone here is very beautiful." Shen Qingxue was about to tease further. Lin Tian tilted his chin up arrogantly. That goes without saying, but Sister Ji Yi is the most beautiful. While speaking, Lin Qian looked shyly toward Shen Ji Yi, opening his mouth to say more but quickly looking away instead. I thought, call it what you want, but don't be so cheesy in front of everyone. I lightly rubbed the goosebumps on my arm and quietly scooted over to sit next to Wen Wan. Why, you ask? Obviously because this spot is the farthest from Lin Tian, and I wasn't the only one getting the creeps. The others probably couldn't stand Lin's personality either. Without a word, everyone tacitly ignored Lin Tian's comment, each person looking down and fiddling with their phone. I logged into my account and lowered my voice to Wen Wan. Wen Wan, I've never played this game before. Can you carry me? Wen Wan gave an okay sign. Add me first.
Then I'll pull you into the team. I nodded, glanced at her ID, and sent a friend request. Wen Wan received it, glanced at my ID, clicked accept, and as soon as we were friends, she immediately sent a match invitation. After adding me to the team, Wen Wan suddenly remembered. Oh shoot, I forgot. You're new, so you can't play ranked. Let me switch to draft mode. I bought this account just for hero selection. It's a king tier account. I explained. I looked into it earlier, And if the ranks are similar, we can still match. Wenwan said nothing more, only offering a mysterious smile. She decisively switched to draft mode. Pulling a newbie into a high-rank match was a guaranteed loss, right? How hard they worked to reach King of Glory with dozens of stars, I wouldn't know. I was completely unaware of that struggle. Seeing Wenwan leave the team to change modes, I didn't say anything else. Wenwan added everyone present to the team. Lin Tian saw he wasn't on the same team as Shen Jiyi and immediately turned to me. Xiesi, swap teams with me now. It made no difference to me which team I was on. Clicked on an empty slot on the opposing team, switching to Li Muhan's side. Lin Tian smirked triumphantly and jumped to Shen Jiyi's team. Then Shen Jiyi glanced at Shen Qingshu. Qingshu, you should come over here too. Otherwise, that team won't be able to play. There are 2 boys over there, and one of them has never played this game before. When we get a random 5th player later, Lin Lei and Li Muhan really won't be able to carry you. Shen Qingxue immediately swapped teams. Wenwan was the room leader. She pulled in a random online friend to fill the team, and without waiting for their reaction, immediately hit start on draft mode. I could see which heroes the opponents were picking. I was the first one to pick a hero. The characters on the screen were a blur to me. I don't know which positions you're good at. Which role should I take? Lin Lei said he only knew how to play support. You play mage or go top lane. I hesitated between mid and top lane heroes, and finally chose Zhenji with her snowy melody skin. This account has so few hero skins, and out of the ones I saw, this was the prettiest. Aside from my indecision during selection, the others knew their strengths well and picked very quickly. Just as the match started, I whispered to Wenwan for tips on Zhenji. Wenwan giggled, and just as she was about to give me a few tips, Lin Tian shouted, Wenwan, don't tell him. He's not on our team. I was speechless. Isn't this just a draft match? Does really no one find him annoying? Fine, then I'm opening fire now. Shen Qingshu frowned in annoyance. She glared at Lin Tian, then stood up and sat next to me. We're on the same team. Let me guide you. I took a deep breath. My budding anger instantly extinguished. I nodded silently. Lin Tian pouted resentfully but said nothing more. He liked Shen Jiyi, and since Shen Qingxue was her sister, he obviously couldn't get into a heated confrontation with her. The atmosphere suddenly became awkward. Shen Jiyi glanced at Wenwan. Wenwan quickly clasped her hands together, silently signaling an apology. I had originally agreed to come and play, as I enjoyed gaming, without thinking much of it at the time. After all, the Xie family status was right there, and I never said I wasn't part of the Xie family. As it turned out, before the game even truly began, people were already picking on each other. Fine, I quietly added these people's names to a blacklist, never to be on the same team again. No matter who I play with in the future, I'll never play with this bunch again. Thinking this, I still listened intently to Shen Qingshu's instructions on casting spells, and the details of performing combos to trigger the passive. When she finished, Shen Qingshu asked, Understand? Shen Qingshu, I understand perfectly. Good, I'm heading to the bottom lane. I steered my mage straight to the middle lane, cleared a wave of minions, bought boots of speed, and smoothly roamed to the bottom lane. I didn't know exactly who the others were, but I knew the enemy's Sun Bin was Lin Tian. Then I'll target him. I hid in the grass waiting for Sun Bin to approach, lost a perfectly aimed freeze skill, then immediately returned to mid lane to clear minions. The enemy mid lane mage was Angela. I didn't bother dueling her, just cleared minions and ran back down to freeze the enemy again. Every single time it hit Sun Bin, I wasn't in a hurry to kill, just freezing him for fun. After several times, Lin Qian glared at me. Shitsi, what is the meaning of this? I feigned innocence, with my usual naive expression. Lin Tian, what's wrong? Am I not allowed to freeze you? Lin Qian was so angry his hands holding the phone were trembling. Shen Qingshu didn't give him any face at all, and said loudly to me, Of course you can. If they're an enemy hero, feel free to kill them with passion. If you can't kill them, run fast. Just don't get taken down. I got it. My fingertips glided across the screen, casting my ultimate to send Sun Bin straight to the respawn screen, then calmly returned to mid lane to clear minions. I wasn't being aggressive, just very persistent. In the mid lane, whenever I saw a shadow getting close, it'd turn and vanish, then take a detour to the bottom lane to find Sun Bin. Only after killing Sun Bin would I return to mid. My target was extremely clear. Lin Qian was about to explode with rage, but since we were on opposing sides, it's only natural to target squishy heroes to gain an advantage. I'm a newbie, who I attack is my choice, and if he argued with me over it, then Sister Ziyi would only see him as narrow-minded and annoying. Damn it, a mere delivery boy. What right did he have to play games with them? Lin Tian couldn't help but glare at me yet again. Shen Qingshu stared at the screen and chuckled. Wow, the newbie's mechanics are pretty good. Taken down the support several times in less than 10 minutes. I smiled back. I've played similar games before, so getting used to it wasn't hard. Just as I spoke, I sent Sunbin down again and returned to mid-lane. After clearing the minions, I casually slipped into the enemy jungle to steal camps, and after invading the jungle, I continued hunting Sunbin. Wherever Sunbin went, I followed, and whenever there was a skirmish on the road, I'd casually throw out a combo to help, before resuming my pursuit. Lin Tian was on the verge of tears, his eyes red as he looked at Shen Ziyi. Sister Ziyi, help me.
Shen Ziyi didn't answer, because the Li Bai she was controlling had just been taken down by me a second ago. Wenwan gasped in shock. Oh my god. Xiaoxi, you're amazing. You actually managed to take down Sister Ziyi. I asked with an innocent face, is this Li Bai person Shen Ziyi? Yes, I'm top lane. Ruyan is mid. Our in-game friend is bottom and Sister Ziyi is playing Li Bai in the jungle. It was only then that I fully distinguished who was who on the enemy side. I smiled. I just got lucky. I just saw a yellow shadow flying by and wondered what it was. When Lin Tian saw that even Shen Ziyi had been taken down by me, he truly couldn't take it anymore and stood up in a rage. Lin Lei hurried to pull him back down, calmly saying, Tian, it's just a game. Why get angry? He's only playing these few matches with you. Who knows, maybe later he'll have to rush off to deliver food. Just to earn some school living expenses. Why lower yourself by competing with this kind of person? It's beneath you. Lin Tian thought about it and laughed along. You're right. Struggling all day on the streets for some spare change. I should show some pity. Wenwan immediately couldn't stay. Still, what's wrong with delivering food? Don't you guys find yourselves annoying? I was the one who invited Xiaoxi. If you have a problem, take it up with me. Her voice was naturally loud, and this shout almost shook the entire villa. I was also startled by Wenwan's scream. Whoa, it's not that serious. Making a big deal out of such a trivial thing isn't good. I quickly looked up at Wenwan. Wenwan. Fine. And not sad or angry at all, so don't you be angry either. Lin Tian wasn't afraid of Wenwan at all. Wenwan, what's it to you? Am I wrong? Isn't CAC just a food delivery guy? What status does he have to be playing with us? He thinks he can step into our circle? Is he worthy? Just a pretty face dreaming of clinging to the wealthy. Pfft, that's enough. Shen Ziyi slammed her phone down. I remember giving instructions before CAC arrived. He didn't specify what he had instructed, but Lin Tian's face instantly turned pale. I lowered my eyelashes, and a thought suddenly flashed through my mind. So words had already been exchanged in advance. With a powerful family backing every person here, making a scene wouldn't benefit anyone. Liu Ruyan hurriedly stepped in to mediate. I realized I had come to the wrong place. I exited the game and stood up with an apologetic look. It seems I've disturbed you all. Please continue your game. I have some business to attend to soon, so I'll take my leave first. Shen Qingzhu also put her phone away and called out softly, Xiaoxi, let me walk you out. Since things have turned out this way, leaving really is the best choice for you. Thank you for your trouble. I nodded slightly. At that very moment, I retracted my gentle demeanor. When acting is no longer required, there's no need to pretend. Cold, sharp aura surged forth. Looking exactly like the sovereign of the apocalypse in that escape room photo, his expression was almost a perfect match. I could sense Shen Qingshu observing me. She raised an eyebrow slightly, but she didn't say a word. Shen Qingshu walked me all the way to the villa's courtyard gate, hesitating for just a moment. Can I have your WeChat? I never refused that, sure. That little bit of unpleasantness just now was nothing. My smile became harmless once again. Of course. I took out my phone and opened the QR code. Shen Qingshu scanned the code and added me to her list. The next second, I hopped onto my small electric scooter, twisted the throttle, and whoosh, I vanished into thin air. The wind whipped against my face. I felt quite refreshed inside. Playing the White Rabbit is fine. And racing is no problem either. Shen Qingshu stood dazed, watching that speeding departure. It seemed he wasn't just some white rabbit who only knew how to cry. She gripped her phone tight, smiled faintly, and tucked it back into her pocket. Turning to the villa, no one was in the mood to play games anymore. Shen Ziyi stood up politely. There's a banquet tonight. Everyone should head back and get ready. Lin Qian bowed his head in apology. Sister, I didn't know. It was Wenwan who invited CAC. I thought it was you who invited him, so I got a little jealous. I'm sorry, I didn't anticipate this. Since I wasn't there, I naturally didn't hear a thing. Shen Ziyi only looked toward Li Muhan. Muhan didn't say anything just now for your sake. In the future, please keep a better eye on this distant cousin of yours. Li Muhan shrugged. Like you said, he's distant,
No need to go easy on him for my sake. Lin Li's face stiffened. The Lin family in front of the Li and Shen families was truly nothing to speak of. The reason the brothers could sit here today was because Lin Li's mother and Muhan's mother were close friends. He quickly followed with an apology. Truly sorry. I will discipline Tian Tian properly from now on, and absolutely won't cause any more trouble for everyone. They had to attend the banquet tonight as well, in places like that. Every move is under the scrutiny of others. If they were seen being snubbed by the Li and Shen heiresses, the sycophantic forces would surely squeeze the Lin family. The Lin family's prestige would suffer because of it, so that would be best. Shen Ziyi leaned over to put her phone in her pocket. Seeing Shen Qingshu enter, she said, "Qingshu, when you come back from the banquet tonight, I don't want to see this poster here anymore." For Old Master Li's birthday celebration, their gathering was just a spur-of-the-moment idea. The villa is usually only occupied by Shen Ziyi and Shen Qingshu. The part-time maid only comes to clean in the morning, which led to her coming downstairs today. Seeing that large-scale poster and not having time to take it down. Embarrassing to death? Of course, it was extremely embarrassing. Shen Qingshu giggled. Doesn't it look great? A gentleman like Jade on a lonely road, unmatched by any beauty in this world. It's so wonderful having it here. Shen Ziyi said nothing, only silently watching her little sister. Shen Qingshu raised her hands in surrender. "Nuna, it'll take it down right now." After saying that, she dashed outside, headed to the garage to get her car, and left. This villa was in her sister's name. They needed to change and get their hair done to head to the company headquarters. Shen Ziyi and Liu Ruyan couldn't help but laugh. Qingshu sure runs fast. Yun Weiwei stood up, stretched her arms. Let's go, let's go. My family will take our leave too, Ji Nuna, Muhan Nuna. See you tonight. Everyone headed to their respective homes. Shen Ziyi, as the host, saw everyone to the door. When she was finally alone in the house, she called the cleaner to come over, then grabbed her car keys and left. Meanwhile, I was riding my little electric scooter, speeding like a flash toward the Century Jindu. Wind rushed into my collar. I narrowed my eyes, silently calculating the time. Century Jindu is a 7-star hotel. Outside the main gate was a vast plaza. Birthday banquet wouldn't start until after 7 p.m. Today was only the banquet for Old Master Li. There were hardly any vehicles at this hour. I found a neat spot to park the scooter, and while calling Zhou Yuancheng, the restaurant manager, I strode into the Century Jindu with an air of confidence. The call connected. After Zhou Yuancheng heard my request, he was a bit conflicted. "Young master, we have already invited a pianist. Suddenly replacing them would be a bit unethical." I replied nonchalantly, "Then add a violinist. Just pay me half the market rate for the fee, but you guys have a suit ready for me." Getting a free suit while working a job, I thought to myself, giving myself a mental thumbs up. So clever. Zhou Yuancheng was even more conflicted. "Young master, there are only 2 hours left before the banquet starts. High-end tailored clothes can't be made in time now. As for borrowing clothes, you know very well. With the status of the Z family, how could we possibly borrow something to wear here? I don't need high-end tailoring. Any ordinary suit brand will do. Just have scissors, needle, and thread ready for me. I'll alter it myself a bit." Zhou Yuancheng pondered. "Young master, perhaps I should ask for President Xi's opinion. Whatever you do, don't ask. I'm planning to give my father a surprise. If you let my father know about this beforehand, don't blame me for what happens to you. Not using family money didn't mean I couldn't use family employees." Zhou Yuancheng had no choice but to agree. If President Xi blames someone, he'd probably get scolded again. Being an employee caught in the middle is truly miserable. I hung up the phone, took the elevator upstairs, and went to the temporary rest area that Zhou Yuancheng had arranged for me to wash up, taking 10 minutes for a quick shower, dried my hair, fixed the suit that Zhou Yuancheng brought over, then went to the dressing room across the hall to freshen up. Zhou Yuancheng had already given notice that there would be an additional violinist. As soon as I entered, my aura shone brightly. The people in the room gave me a glance but said nothing, continuing with their makeup. I found an empty spot and sat down. Placing my personal tools on the table, glanced over the cosmetics and hair wax on the desk, and skillfully styled my hair myself. After spending 20 minutes sprucing up, my gaze swept across the room, finding a hairdresser who was free, and asked him to adjust my hair. The hairdresser, who was there to work, as soon as he heard me call, immediately stood up and came to my side, asking softly, "How should I address you?" "Just call me Xiao Ci. This suit is a slim-fit wine red style, so please give me a hairstyle that matches." Decisive and authoritative way I spoke made the hairdresser subconsciously feel pressured. He obediently replied, "Yes, sir." The stylist looked through the mirror, observing my face closely. Noticing that I really looked radiant in the reflection, with sword-like eyebrows and eyes bright as stars,
high, straight bridge of the nose. The facial features were incredibly distinct. It was a handsome face with a deep oriental beauty. With a face like this, styling the hair basically took very little effort. It would look good no matter the style. Xiaoxi, are you a professional violinist? You seem quite young. I wasn't sure how to respond, putting a hand to my forehead. I'm only 17. In truth, my real age wasn't that high. The hairdresser paused, surprised, 17 years old. Are you serious? In this Beifu city, the Xie family is one of the 3 largest clans. The performers invited by the Xie family, while not necessarily famous, must surely have a solid foundation. Hiring young people is indeed cheap.
Nhưng người trẻ sao có thể gánh vác được cả buổi tiệc lớn thế này?
If the performance failed, wouldn't it do more harm than good? Of course, that was the reality. Since they dared to invite him, he, a hairdresser, a mere employee, could have no say. The hairdresser thought about it and immediately understood. Concentrating on my hair, perhaps because I was young, he didn't make the style too mature. His skillful hands combed me an elegant hairstyle, using hair wax to fix it slightly. I put on a simple obsidian earring myself. Anything else was a matter of tears, because I didn't have any money to buy them anyway. With the outfit and hair finished, it was now 6:30 p.m. I went to the break room to check the violin. This instrument was originally a decoration for Century Jindu, borrowed for temporary use because I needed to perform. This violin wasn't cheap at all, worth nearly 1,000,000 yuan. I adjusted the strings, then played a short test passage, confirming everything was fine before sitting down to play with my phone. Location: Century Jindu. Anyone want to hear some music? I can come out and bring you guys in. Fu Shijin messaged. I'm already at Century Jindu. Xiaoxi, are you joking? In this Beifu city, Old Master's birthday banquet is being held there. Only Qin Feng's family managed to get an invitation through connections. Qin Feng wanted to bring us along but couldn't even do that. Xiaoxi, can you really bring us in?
I didn't intentionally investigate their backgrounds. Nhưng lúc này cũng đã có hiểu biết sơ bộ.
Just getting you guys inside is fine, but no parents allowed.
Thinking it was fine for the boys to come play, but adults would definitely come to network. If their family power wasn't great enough, wandering aimlessly around the banquet could easily annoy the Li family. The venue belonged to the Xie family, but the Xie family wasn't the protagonist of this party. I had to think of my father, too. I exited WeChat and called Zhou Yuancheng, telling him to let my people in later. Hearing it was just 3 underage boys, Zhou Yuancheng immediately agreed.
Young master, do you have photos? I'll send them to the security at the gate.
I have them, I'll send them to you.
I hung up, sending photos of Fu Shijin, Mu Gi, and Mu Chuan to Zhou Yuancheng. After sending the photos, I guess those brothers would need to dress up a bit, so I took the suit to the restroom to change. Once dressed, I tucked my phone into a secret pocket I'd altered myself, shouldered the violin case, slipped into my polished leather shoes, and took the elevator downstairs. The birthday banquet for Old Master Li was held in the outdoor central garden of Century Jindu. The party was about to officially begin, and the performance troupe was already in position. There were no song or dance acts at the banquet, only piano solos and instrumental ensembles. I scanned the hall once. Found the piano performance platform, pulled a chair over, and sat down. Guests filed into the hall one by one. Pianist Chui Yanyan was playing. She would have to play until the end of the party. Chui Yanyan, seeing me eating as soon as I arrived, was a bit speechless. She whispered a reminder. There are guests in the hall. This is bad for your image. Aren't you afraid Manager Joe will dock your pay if he sees this? I replied innocently, not afraid. He only hired me to play one song, and it's not like I'm being paid that much anyway. I thought to myself, if it weren't for the mandatory banquet and having no money for new clothes, I wouldn't have bothered coming here to play the violin, because my performance fee is quite expensive, you know. Since I wasn't afraid, Chui Yanyan didn't say anything more. She flipped to a new page of sheet music, changing the subject. What are you planning to play later? I'll play whatever you're playing, sister. Chui Yanyan looked skeptical. Are you sure? I know a lot of songs. How about Frere Jacques? Or no, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star? Yanyan paused for a moment, her fingertips dancing swiftly over the keys. I shook my head. Not that one. That song is nearly 12 minutes long. I meant the simple Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the one about 1,000 stars in the sky. It's over in a minute, so much easier. Chui Yanyan's expression became hard to describe. Xiaoxi, you weren't hired by someone to sabotage this, were you? I chuckled. My eyes scanned the surroundings, noticing almost no one around the stage, and started seriously talking nonsense. Of course not. My father put in so much effort to get me in here, essentially wanting me to find a like-minded partner here. Just think about it, sister. Everyone who gets in here is of the wealthy elite. If I can take 1 or 2 ladies home, wouldn't that change my life? A step up into heaven. Kui Yanyan couldn't help but glare. You said it yourself. They're rich and noble. You think they'd bother with you, let alone wanting 1 or 2. Truly a delusional dream. Yanyan Nuna, Don't you read novels? Prominent female CEOs love guys like me, perfect build, handsome, with a brilliant aura,
and multi-talented to boot. One look and their hearts would skip a beat. Cui Yanyan was a bit at a loss for words. Stop reading so many stories, boy. Someone with no power or status like you. In real life, would at most be a gigolo or a side piece. You'd never set foot through the front door. One must live realistically and be self-reliant. Only then can you hope for a bright future. After speaking, Cui Yanyan suddenly remembered my age and felt embarrassed. This kid isn't even an adult yet, and I'm using words like gigolo or side piece. Was that a bit too much? I suppressed a laugh, continuing to tease Cui Yanyan. Still better than exhausting oneself as an employee. I'm certain that with this talent and looks combined, I will surely rise to the top in one step and bring the main empress herself back to the manor. Before I could finish, a mocking voice interjected. Of course, it's you, daring to discuss being a gigolo for others in broad daylight, or a side piece, truly a low-class, worthless sort. I heard Lin Qian's voice. Secretly annoyed, I frowned, turning to see Lin Qian standing below the performance stage. Lin Qian had come alone, dressed in a purple tailcoat, hair slicked back with glossy gel, draped in branded watches and expensive accessories. I looked down at him from my vantage point, curled my lips into a slight cold smile, and mimicked Lin Qian's pretentious tone. That's right, I also enjoy being people's stepfather. Where is your mother? Introduce us, won't you? Lin Qian was so angry he jumped, his face flushing deep red. You damn delivery boy. Did you think Wen Wan would jump out to protect you again? If you provoke me, I'll have someone throw you out by the neck. What did you just say? Here, aside from the guests, everyone else is my person. Xietzi, open your eyes wide and watch closely tomorrow. His surname was Shi, and Century Jindu was the Shi family's estate. Are you crazy? A young master working as a delivery driver, hiding your identity just to be insulted by others. I stood up abruptly, an overwhelming presence radiating from me. Arms crossed over my chest, clicking my tongue. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Trembling like that. Are you about to have a stroke and try to blame it on me? Oh, I'm just so terrified. Lin Tian guessed my identity. His soaring rage vanished instantly without a trace, and he slinked away, disappearing from sight. If I were just a delivery man, he would dare to humiliate me in front of the crowd. But this delivery man held the status of the Xie family's young master, so he could only coil back and play nice. The Xie family was a power on par with the Li and Shen families, one the small Lin family could never afford to offend, truly a typical case of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. I sat back down. Cui Yanyan was so stunned she forgot how to play the piano. Xiaoxi, are you really the young master of the Xie family? I smiled and asked back, do I not look the part? Cui Yanyan, observing me carefully once again upon hearing that. This youth before her eyes indeed did not seem to come from an ordinary family. Every gesture of mine was generous and refined. Amidst such a luxurious banquet, I didn't show the slightest hesitation or fear. This was not something a poor 17-year-old boy could accomplish. But Xiaoxi, if you are indeed the Xi family's young master, even a talent performance should be the grand finale, shouldn't it? I made a gesture for her to stop. Don't ask any more. It would be impolite to keep asking. I knew very well in my heart the Xi family's rules are something outsiders cannot know. Even if I work, I must say it's for personal interest, never revealing that I cannot take money from the family. But tell me, what decent family actually likes working for others? I only love money. I don't love working for others at all. I couldn't lie to myself and say the words I like working for others. Cui Yanyan nodded repeatedly, asking nothing more, took a deep breath and concentrated on the keys. Only now did she have a sudden realization. The declaration about a handsome guy marrying a CEO wasn't a joke. This young master truly has the ability to bring a CEO home, and it would be a perfect match within the super-rich circles. As for an employee like herself, she should just stick to her duties, making sure no mistakes occur during the banquet. I bowed my head, leisurely enjoying some fruit. Zhou Yuansheng, seeing the guests increasing in number, hurried over and whispered, "Young master, please pay a little attention to the group's image. Right now, no one knows your identity yet. But later, when President Xi comes to introduce you, then everyone will know. The young master sitting cross-legged like this, casually sitting and eating here, won't it make outsiders mock us for having poor family discipline? I know. Have my friends arrived?" I put down the fruit plate and extended my hand. Zhou Yuansheng turned to get a wet wipe, then came back to wipe my hands. The person at the gate hasn't called me yet, so they probably haven't arrived yet. All right, I'll go out and see. I'll come back when it's my turn to perform. Yes, sir. Your leather shoes are polished so brightly. Please be careful as you walk. I hummed a response, then stood up and strode out with pride, walking so forcefully that it created a breeze. The guests subconsciously turned their gazes toward me. That gentleman looks unfamiliar. I wonder which family's young master he is. He looks so handsome, and he's carrying an instrument too. He's probably just a musician performing at the banquet. By now, Lin Tian had found his older brother and anxiously pulled Lin Lei away from the crowd. Brother, I think I've caused a major disaster. Lin Lei looked around, then his face darkened, giving Lin Tian a hard slap on the back. What kind of place is this for you to be like this? Could you use your head to think for a moment? Which family's member have you offended?
Lin Tian rubbed his aching back. Brother, wasn't I just looking for something to eat? Then I saw that delivery guy, that Shietsi kid. He was sitting by the piano stage. He was speaking so arrogantly, saying he wanted to be people's stepfather. I only scolded him a few times, and then he said that aside from the guests, everyone here is his person. Lin Lei didn't quite understand. What do you mean, your person, his person? Oh my god, brother, his surname is Xie. Do you remember how he introduced himself before? The Jin in Century Jindu. He is definitely the young master of the third branch of the Xie family, that young master who hasn't appeared in public for a long time. How could that be possible?
If he were a Xie family young master, why would he ever work? And the most difficult job at that. That kid is full of schemes. Maybe he just happens to have the surname Xie, and knowing this is the Xie family's domain, he just used it to bluff you guys. Lin Lei paused after saying that, thought for a moment, then continued. Tian, tell me, how was he dressed? Although Lin Lei didn't believe it, to be safe, he still needed to confirm carefully. Lin Tian recalled. He wore a suit that I've never seen, among any major brands, and he only wore a single normal earring, with no other accessories on him. Was it high-end custom-made? It didn't seem like it. Even custom-made clothes have their own unique characteristics.
Lin Tian was speaking when he suddenly saw something. He pointed toward the banquet hall entrance. Brother, look over there. Is that him? Standing 1.8 meters tall, in a wine-red suit, I cut a striking figure as I moved through the banquet hall. Lin Lei followed me with his gaze, staring intensely at my attire for a long moment. It's clearly not a high-end luxury brand, nor a custom-made piece. The young master of the 13th branch of the Xi family has been abroad for years, making his first appearance now. How could you be dressed in this Korean style? We've definitely been tricked. Hearing this, Lin Tian felt a sudden wave of relief. He clenched his fists. That wretched, annoying brat. How dare he lie to me?
I'm going to find him and settle the score.
Lin Lei held Lin Tian back. Stop acting up. The banquet starts in less than 10 minutes. There's no rush to teach him a lesson. Not right now. Let's make a plan before we deal with him. Lin Tian nodded immediately. Yes, brother. Tell me, what should we do? I walked toward the main entrance of the Century Jindu Hotel. Fu Shijin was nowhere to be seen, but I spotted Xie Hui peeking from behind a dragon-carved marble pillar, acting sneaky and looking around restlessly. Xie Hui was wearing a tight black shirt with sparkling pointed leather shoes, looking exactly like a nightclub host. If Xie Hui actually appeared at the party looking like this, people might think the Xie family was on the brink of bankruptcy. I fought back laughter until my chest trembled. Finally, I simply couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. As fellow traveler in misfortune with Xie Hui, I was quite unethical as I circled behind him to mock him. Brother Hui, what happened to you? Why did you come here looking like this? It's so embarrassing. Xie Hui turned his head in shock and saw me looking dashing. He gritted his teeth and gestured wildly. Shi, you still dare to laugh. This is all your fault. And going to bite you to death. He wasn't originally supposed to come, but Uncle Ji Chuang insisted, saying Shi hadn't appeared in public for a long time, so he should come to show his support and introduce Shi to some friends. Thus, he was forced to be here. But since he had to come, they should have at least lent him a suit and some accessories. Unexpectedly, Uncle Ji Chuang said that Xie had prepared his own suit and accessories. Now look what happened. He couldn't borrow party clothes from Xie and had to pay out of his own pocket. He hadn't earned much from his part-time jobs this past month, so there was no way he'd waste money on that. So he just bought this random outfit and took a taxi. He felt restless the entire way here. Once he arrived and saw how elegant and grand everyone was, he didn't even dare to step through the door. It was beyond embarrassing. If he dared to walk in like this today, then tomorrow at Jinyuan High School, he would never have a moment of peace. And the mastermind behind all this was the brat standing in front of him, wearing an incredibly punchable smile. I reached out and easily caught the charging Xie Hui, making him unable to move, then said in a teasing tone, Hui, seeing you doing so poorly makes me feel so relieved. Xie, you bastard. I was living comfortably at the main house. It was bad enough you got me kicked out by Grandpa,
Now I have to serve food, wash dishes, and white tables every day. And yet you still bully me. You're not human. Looking at Shay Hui's pitiful, tearful face, my mouth moved faster than my brain. Brother Hui, I know you want to cry, but wait a second before you do. Your hairspray is so cheap. As the tears flow down, they're leaving 2 white streaks on your face. It looks incredibly greasy and gross. It's fine if you scare me, but it wouldn't be good to scare the flowers and guests in the hall later. That would be bad. Shi Hui stood stunned for 3 seconds, then suddenly burst into even louder sobs. While crying, he lunged at me. He wanted to risk his life for a fight. I'm good to people, but I'm not very good at comforting them. So I used a grappling move to pin Shay Hui against the wall. Fortunately, no one was paying attention to this corner. The scuffle between the two of us was known only to us. With Shay Hui's hands locked behind his back, he kept repeating one sentence, "Shay Si, let me go. I'm going to bite you to death." Brother Hui, I was wrong.
If you stop attacking, I'll let go, okay? No, we are mortal enemies.